Sanctuary of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Underground. Nebula and I descended into the tunnel deeper underground. The temperature gradually rose as we went deeper. Deep below, the ground was unaffected by the sun's radiation and much warmer than the frigid surface. Soon, we broke through a barrier deep underground and landed in a vast, open area. The surroundings were dim, and inside was another tunnel, but a wider one. Here, Nebula's white squirrel form gradually changed in the dim light, transforming into humanoid form. A slender woman with long, wispy green hair, dressed in elegant blue-white clothing. "You've become human again," I said. "Hey, appearance isn't very important, but this form rarely appears. It makes you look more like a deity, isn't it?" Nebula chuckled. "Yeah, it looks a bit more presentable than a squirrel," I said. Then we headed towards the front of the tunnel. This change in appearance must be a magical power, probably authentic. We advanced a distance deeper into the tunnel. Ahead, we saw a stone door. We passed through it and opened it. Beyond the doorway lay an even wider underground space, vast and spacious, just like the Green Alliance's hidden base I'd been in. And there, even more astonishing things unfolded before us. In the distance, numerous gears of various sizes and shapes were whirring. We advanced, and as we advanced, we could see rows of gears turning near the walls. Some gears weren't working properly, so several mole-like creatures moved and to adjust them. As we moved forward, we could sense something unusual deep down ahead. Perhaps the deity that governed this land was there. We continued a little further until we reached a subterranean factory-like area, where numerous gears were working. Several mole-like figures were working, some pressing pedals beside the gears, others repairing them. At that moment, on the ground nearby, a ferocious-looking wolf-like creature with black and red skin, a beast-like figure, towering in stature and wielding a trident, seemed to be in charge of the guard. Nebula approached the wolf-shaped guard and said, "The administrator of this underground world should be here. We'd like to meet him, is that alright?" Upon hearing this, the wolf-shaped guard, with a slightly ferocious expression, looked over and said, "You two are not ordinary people. You've received the master's permission to come here. Go and meet him. He's in the room over there." "Thank you," Nebula said. We then headed to the other side, not far away. Deep within that room, a small, dimly lit room loomed in the darkness. We made our way there and soon arrived at the entrance. The room was quite large, the door ajar, and we entered. Inside, we found a lighted area. We walked in, and in front of us were bookshelves on both sides, each filled with books. We continued walking deeper into the room, where a large figure sat at a table and chairs. Upon our arrival, they slowly turned around. Their skin was darker, and light and shadow shimmered behind them. Although they had a human appearance, their face resembled that of a rodent. Unlike the moles working outside, they appeared somewhat older. "Is it the forest god?" they asked in a deep voice. "Yes, land god. You look quite interesting now," Nebula said. "Interesting? It's because you wanted to disturb me that I appeared," the land god said. "But it's a mole, don't you often wonder the forest in the form of a rodent, adapting to the environment," the land god said. Hearing this, Nebula chuckled softly, but remained silent. I said, "We've come here to learn about the situation on Earth. Are there any disasters imminent?" The land deity responded, "Did you see those gears out there just now?" "Yes, what's wrong with those gears?" I replied. The land deity then stood up, holding a staff and tapping the ground. Immediately, the illusion of numerous gears, large and small, appeared before my eyes. The gears spun one after another, some stalled. "You've come here to learn about the situation on Earth, and I'll tell you, it's terrible. Just like those gears, areas of gears that aren't working will gradually deteriorate over time, eventually collapsing." The illusion of the gears before me showed signs of disintegration due to the stalling. Because of the problem on one side, the other gears will be affected to some extent. This is indeed because someone has been doing something extraordinary recently, and the forest has suffered a lot of damage. In this regard, what did the forest god do? "Did you watch those people extract the energy of the forest?" said the god in charge of the land. Hearing this, Nebula said, "Well, I'm sorry, the opponent doesn't look easy to deal with. I can't do anything about it." "Really, you chose to retreat?" I said. "Well, Learning from the previous lessons, I can only manage the actions of humans or other races appropriately. Recently, many energy sources have appeared on the Earth, and humans probably want to use them for something. Nebula covered the back of his head slightly and said, "That's one thing. The problem is indeed humans. Their greed will only destroy this land faster," said the god in charge of the land. "And you, human, you are no longer an ordinary person. You came here with something on your back. Now you have reached a new realm through practice. I will tell you what will happen next," the god in charge of the land said to me then, as it gently struck the ground with its cane. A scene appeared before our eyes, a sky covered in thick, dark clouds and fog, a violent storm raging, lightning flashing intermittently, and perhaps the tall building somewhere in the new century capital collapsing as the ground collapsed. It was the image of a disaster. "What on earth is this?" I asked, puzzled. "Something that will happen in the near future," said the god of the land. "This is truly bad," said Nebula. "It's not just the mastermind, this is also the result of humanity's disregard for the consequences and their own desires. Punishment is only natural. This is retribution for foolish humans who disregard their offspring and are self-righteous, self-satisfied, and self-satisfied," said the god of the land. Hearing this, Nebula saw that the god of the land looked a little angry and consoled him. "It doesn't have to be like this. There's no need to cause so much trouble for humanity, forest god. It's not that I insist on bringing disaster to human cities. You see, it's like so many gears. If one gets stuck, the others will get stuck too. So, destroying that gear will cause an imbalance in the underground energy, which will cause the collapse of parts of the earth. This is the law of nature, and it's not something I can do anything about it," said the god of the land. Hearing this, I said, "Then, in that case, how can we prevent the disaster from happening? Stopping it is unlikely, but changing that future is not impossible. Human, the possibilities you've seen are meaningful, don't you understand? To prevent it from happening," I responded. "At this moment, the best way is to take down the mastermind." Cough, cough, "It's like a fuse," the earth god said, coughing a few times. "That means I have to go," I said. "In other words, I have to subdue the mastermind. I already know who the mastermind is. As the forest god saw, you know, he's a troublesome creature. He's water," the earth god said, coughing twice more, then took a breath and said, "It seems that interfering in your affairs is not a good idea. I'll suffer retribution. I won't say anything more. Remember, then return." The earth god said this, then struck the ground with his cane a few times, signaling that it was time to leave. Nebula and I glanced at each other, knowing it was time to leave. "Land god, thank you for your kind reminder. Human Xingze and I are leaving now," Nebula said in gratitude. "Thank you very much. We'll find a solution later," I nodded in thanks. "Let's go. Caring for the younger generation is such a hassle. I don't want to be entangled in your karma," the land god said. Nebula and I thanked him, and we left the room. What the future holds depends on the choices of humanity, something the land god didn't need to say. Then, we watched the two men leave the underground passage. Nebula and I returned to the surface world. After we both passed through the deep underground space, the underground passageway there naturally closed. Soon after, we passed through the black pit and emerged into the surface world, returning to the contaminated forest area we had previously been in. About an hour later, on the other side of the land, 3 people led by Zhou Qing, including the brown-haired girl and Xingze and Guang, spotted us returning from the black pit. "Captain Zhou Qing, look over there. Lord Xingze and the others are back," Xingze and Guang said. Zhou Qing glanced over there, confirmed our presence, and said, "It's true. We've been waiting for a while, and it's a little worrying. It's bottomless down there." He then approached us and asked, "Are you two okay?" "No problem," I replied. Nebula nodded slightly, now resembling a squirrel. "So, the forest investigation is concluded?" Zhou Qing asked. "That's right. Did anything happen beneath the ground?" Zhang Guang asked. "Yes, I'll discuss the details with you later," I said. "Xingze, keep me updated." "I'm leaving now," Nebula said, and then headed towards the other side of the forest. After bidding farewell to the Lord of the Forest, we had to return to base. Chapter 252 Negotiation. Afterward, Zhou Qing and I, along with a few others, headed towards the other side of the forest, towards a hidden cave entrance. Our next plan was to return to the Green Alliance base. Regarding what might happen next, The vision I had seen from the Earth to the underground, the severe weather and sinking Earth, would be a disaster of considerable proportions. If it were to happen, the damage would be unimaginable, so we must prevent it. This is one of the possible scenarios that could develop in the near future. Of all the allies I can rely on right now, the Green Alliance's secret organization truly values the natural environment and future development. However, as Lin Feng mentioned, the current Green Alliance headquarters is now under a different management and no longer under her control. It has fallen under the jurisdiction of Region 1. At the heart of the matter lies Region 1's leader, Purin Ains, the man we've only seen in photos. Purin is perhaps our greatest potential challenge. His mysterious identity, his hidden side, and his plans, the mystery of that man remains unresolved. My subconscious thought Wanling was a key figure involved, but her whereabouts were currently unknown, so we had no choice but to return to base for consultation. After a short distance, we returned to the secret Green Alliance base, nestled deep within a cavern resembling an underground tunnel. Master Xingze, do you have any plans for the future? Zhou Qing asked. Yes, I plan to discuss what happened with the Commander-in-Chief, I replied. Really? I was planning to go there too. If it's convenient, let's go together, Zhou Qing said. No problem. I just said I'll tell you about what happened underground later, I said. Thank you very much. With that, we headed back inside the main camp, deep inside the second floor, to meet with the leader present. Entering the room, it was already nearing noon. I spotted Lin Feng at the set of chairs to my right. She had also noticed Zhou Qing and I arrive and silently watched us enter. Miss Lin Feng, I went to the West Forest as you suggested, I said. Is that so? What was the result? Lin Feng said. Originally, I only saw some similar scenes that I had seen in the past, but with the help of a kind third party on the way, I went deep into the sinkhole, deep into the earth, and there I learned some different information, I said. Hearing this, Lin Feng thought for a moment, seemed to understand something, and said, Is it the owner of the forest? You know, in this case I don't have to deliberately hide that person's identity, as you said, I responded. Hearing this, Lin Feng chuckled and said, I also know the owner of the forest. He is an interesting, childlike and a little immature guy, really. I think so too, I agreed. Then, where did she take you, and what did you encounter there? Lin Feng asked again. I was just about to discuss this with you, Miss Lin Feng, I said. Then, with Lin Feng's tacit permission, I briefly described to her what Nejla and I encountered underground and some of the things we learned. Zhou Qing, who was listening beside us, also listened. I briefly outlined my understanding and discussed it further with the two. It's generally easy to understand. The intelligence you obtained underground is actually quite close to what we expected. However, your words have strengthened our conviction. We are currently waiting to see what will happen next. We haven't found more comprehensive intelligence yet, so we can only wait and see. The former members of the Green Alliance are diligently investigating, Lin Feng said. She still appeared gentle and calm. Lin Feng Yinkrane was a somewhat incredible person. Is that so? Is there any progress on the intelligence about that girl Guanling? I asked again. There should be no progress in the investigation of that child. Not long ago, there were signs that she was heading to the school area, but it was impossible to confirm. She seems to be cautious in her whereabouts, Lin Feng said. Really, you should pay special attention to that child, Xingze. She has some dangerous factors. You understand, right? Lin Feng reminded. Well, I see. We must confirm the target of the manipulations in the first area in the near future. Guanling may be there, I said. We are doing that now. There are also companions here in the first area conducting investigations. If there is any movement recently, we should get some information. Although we are not many in number, the intelligence network still has many channels, Lin Feng said, Green Alliance and other channels. In that case, I'll opt to wait and see for the time being, I said. Well, you're our core, and I'd be very troubled if you acted recklessly. Please wait a little longer. Zhou Qing, please take good care of our new leader, Lin Feng said softly. Zhou Qing, standing nearby, responded, Understood, no need to be so polite. I've said everything I wanted to say. I'll be leaving now, I said, about to leave the room. Okay, I'll keep you posted if there's any progress, Lin Feng agreed. I then took my leave, and Zhou Qing followed me out. We exited the main camp one after another. At the entrance, Zhou Qing asked, Do you have any plans? No, I'm going back to my room, I replied. If you need any help, feel free to call me, Joe Qing continued. Joe Qing, do you have anything to do next? I asked. Besides guiding you and assisting with your work, I occasionally participate in investigations and intelligence gathering, Joe Qing replied. I'm really busy. It should be almost lunchtime soon. You should take a break, I said. Well, it's okay. Miss Lin Feng isn't that scary. Let's go have lunch and rest, I continued. I understand what you're saying, Joe Qing replied. Well, then I'll be leaving first. You should speak to me in a more equal tone from now on, I said as I walked to the other side. You're 20 years old. I saw in the documents that you're not much different from me. No problem, I said, and then gradually left. Joe Qing seems to have a rare loyalty, but a little naive. I think she should be grateful for having a good boss. After that, I returned to my room on the second floor of the building next to the main camp. Chapter 253 Progress. After that, I returned to my room and never left. The changes that had recently occurred within me were due to the changes that had occurred with the key. Only 2 days had passed. Therefore, I hadn't been able to adapt to this process immediately, as my cultivation progress was slow and I struggled to adapt to my current state. Within the primordial spirit stone, the key merged with each other, and as that spirit body changed, I too approached this level of state. I spent the rest of the day quietly in my room and next morning, I woke around 6:30 a.m. After washing up, I planned to do everything, besides breakfast, to gather intelligence. I told Joe Qing not to bother her with making breakfast. I already had some familiarity with the area and a general idea of what I could do. I spontaneously grabbed some milk and some bread from the refrigerator for a simple breakfast. After a while, I decided to go outside and change my shoes at the door before heading out. On the second floor corridor where I was staying, I could see a few Green Alliance members. It seemed like they were getting up and going to work at that hour. I walked through the corridor, and a member approached me on the way and said, New King, where are you going now? I'm just going out for a walk. It's not good for my health to stay in the cave all the time, I said casually. At this time, another young man came and said, By the way, Miss Joe Qing didn't come today. Is there any way to prepare breakfast for the new king? I have already made a simple deal about this. After all, there are some bread and other things left, I responded. Next, we will also do some ability training, also outside the back door of the cave, said a member. Hearing this, another person said, Okay, isn't that the training within the Greenfield Alliance? Just saying. At this time, another blue-haired young man who I was familiar with said, What's the problem with that? Anyway, that is our new king. Compared with the rules of the Greenfield Alliance, it's nothing. And when it comes to training, you should be the ones to be instructed, right? That's true, but Huifei, you are really arrogant. You are not much different from us, said a member. No, that's not the question, said the blue-haired young man, Huifei, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. The new king, though a king, is also a man of about the same age. You shouldn't be so polite, right? The blue-haired young man looked at me and said this. He seemed a little nervous, but he concealed it well. Hearing this, I casually agreed, that's right. Everyone, don't be so polite. Just treat me like an ordinary roommate or neighbor. I'm new here, after all, and I won't be here forever, I see, but in this matter, we should help each other, I said. Oh, as expected of the boss, you're not picky about small matters, a member of the group said. Then I walked past them this morning. I went to the forest near the back door, alone, observing the surrounding scenery. I could feel the forest's ever-changing nature. It felt good here, and I could also feel it to the west where I went yesterday. The range and subtlety of my perception had increased. This area is relatively peaceful, with no signs of an invasion from outside forces. However, the faction here doesn't seem to have caused any trouble. However, there's one major concern, the men in the first area. Discovery would be troublesome. If they find me before then, I'd undoubtedly run into trouble as well. In the worst-case scenario, I'll head to that location on my own to settle the matter. For now, I'll wait and see what happens and make a decision later. After a brief moment of basking in the forest sunshine, I'll head back to the base. Several hours have already passed, and it's time to inquire about the situation. Having decided, I headed back toward the cave. As I made my way back to the main base, I could see that the people around me seemed a bit flustered. One of them, a green-haired woman named Joe Qing, saw me return and trotted over to say, "Master Xingze, we've got some progress." "Progress?" I asked, puzzled. Zhou Qing's expression didn't quite register as good news. I knew it wasn't good news. "Anyway, let's go to Commander Lin Feng first. We'll talk once we get there," Zhou Qing said. I agreed and followed her to the second-floor room deep within the Commander-in-Chief's quarters. Soon, we arrived at Lin Feng's location. She was sitting in the control room on the left. In front of her was a large screen, used for collecting and summarizing data. It had been her exclusive use for the past few days. Miss Lin Feng, did something bad happen?" I asked. Lin Feng looked at me, nodded slightly, and said, "Well, it might be something quite bad for you." "What is that?" I continued. For some reason, I had a rough idea in my mind. Meanwhile, Lin Feng was operating the device. On the large screen, a photo gradually appeared. It was of someone I knew, my sister Shui Hui, with her short brown hair. On the other side was my other sister, Lan Yu. Both of them were in the photo, in what looked like a prison cell. Their expressions were filled with reluctance. "Where is this? When did the source of this information come?" I asked again. "This morning, the two seem to have been held captive somewhere. Judging from the intelligence sources, it's probably the first area, or even the royal city," Lin Feng said. "What's going on?" "Why were they?" I said. "This has a lot to do with you, Xingze. They're your sisters, right? Since you took the key, it's a simple matter. Those two are used to threaten your existence," Lin Feng said. "Wait, that's strange. Why were they captured?" "What are the details?" I continued. "I don't quite understand that either. But while this is bad news for you, it's a development for us. This is probably when the group reveals its true colors," Lin Feng said. Hearing this, I calmed down and thought about the reasons for their capture. If it was Shuhua, her capture wouldn't be difficult. But Lan Yu, my other sister, was different. Was she captured? Considering many factors, it would be a difficult matter. If this was done by pure names, I really need to meet him. What exactly is he? Perhaps only by confirming it can we truly understand. Xingze, calm down. There's more to come, Lin Feng said. Holy Water Spirit Academy, I said. Yes, that's it. About that point, Lin Feng then showed me the information he had obtained. Chapter 254 Intelligence Summary. Regarding the information regarding my sister's connection to Holy Water Spirit Academy, it seems to have occurred yesterday afternoon, when a third-party guard from the first area arrived to escort Li Shuhua to the first area. Because my sister, Li Shuhua, is a specially protected individual at the academy, she was discovered by the first area personnel after school. Negotiations subsequently took place with the academy's higher-ups. The academy ultimately failed to detain Li Shuhua. The reasoning was that I had taken a key, providing a pretext for their removal. However, this explanation seemed far-fetched, and the academy wasn't entirely satisfied. They couldn't confirm Li Xingze's connection to the key. However, the first area officials were more assertive that day and insisted on taking Li Shuhua away first. Because I was away that day, Lan Yu, having finished school earlier, chose to come to Holy Water Spirit Academy to greet my sister. Coincidentally, Lan Yu later became involved, and she expressed resistance to the first area's advice, appearing to display some slight resistance. Because of that, she also encountered a lot of trouble. After the commotion, the two of them were ultimately sent to a location in Area 1, though the exact location is unknown. This is the information I've gathered. Those people forcibly took my two sisters away. That seems to be the case. Xingze, let's wait a little longer. That way, the Holy Water Spirit Academy, Area 1, and Silver Academy will surely reach a conclusion. It may sound harsh, but your two sisters, because of them, may open up many opportunities for us, Lin Feng said. Her words made perfect sense. As long as we waited a short while, it wouldn't be impossible for Area 1 to not respond. If that response ultimately required me to meet there, then that would be perfect for me. Going there might just be a matter of time. You're right, Miss Lin Feng. I'll choose to wait for the next day or two. That should be enough time, I said. Well, Silver Academy is where your sister Li Lanai is, and Holy Water Spirit Academy is where you and Li Shuhua are. Both academies are prestigious, and the first region can't use its power to suppress them under these circumstances. I understand. If you have any new information, please contact me immediately, I said. Yes, Lin Feng nodded. Zhou Qing, who had been listening to our conversation, chimed in. I'm also distressed for Xingze after this. It wouldn't be easy for me either. Please bear with me, I'll do that. Thank you for your kindness, I thanked them. With that, our conversation ended, and I left the room. I returned to my own room. Based on the intelligence I had just received, it was reasonable to assume that my two sisters' lives were not in danger at the moment. I couldn't guarantee anything else. Honestly, I really wanted to call the Xingze Academy's higher-ups right now, but I'd already told them I wouldn't be contacting the outside world during this time, as that might reveal our location. I have a computer in my room, so at least I could use the computer network to connect to the official Xingze Academy discussion group, where the students socialize. That should be fine. So I tried it, logging into the official Xingze Academy website. After all, logging in anonymously meant no risk of being exposed. After logging in, I checked the relevant links. In the discussion group, I did find information about what happened yesterday afternoon, which seemed to have spread throughout the academy. There were quite a few posts discussing me and the two sisters. There were headlines like, "Come back quickly. Your two sisters are in danger." There were also other posts discussing information about the first area. In a single day, the posts about Shuhu and me were so numerous that they practically took over the front page. There were posts specifically discussing Xingze's whereabouts, and there were also posts discussing the mission I was carrying out. There were all sorts of messages, some positive, some negative. I didn't find any useful information, which was to be expected. I just held out a glimmer of hope, hoping I could find some useful information here. But even a layman like me couldn't compare to Lin Feng's intelligence network. Just as I was turning a page and about to exit, I suddenly saw a familiar title, C16, your class, the students are worried. Please come back as soon as possible. Code, please contact us if you need any help. I checked the post with the familiar words. C16 probably refers to my seat number in the class, and the content was likely from a student within the class. Who could it be, or how many people might have done this? I couldn't confirm. The code looked like it started with someone's phone number, like the class monitors. Continuing to analyze it, I realized there were also Qin Liang's and Xingze Uho's. Their numbers might start with something, so perhaps they knew something. Seeing this, what should I do? Sure enough, at least text messages with people I trust. The one with the greatest wisdom among them should be Chikuka, that mysterious girl. Perhaps she could offer me something. Just texting wouldn't be considered illegal, not to mention that at this point, if it could lead to a clue, I should give it a try, even if it meant breaking the contract. The stakes were high, and I shouldn't hesitate. Chikuka was no problem, she was the most trustworthy person in the academy, in my opinion. And since this involved a classmate, contacting her was my duty. With my mind made up, I pulled out my phone and texted her. I sent a greeting, I'm currently waiting in a secret place. Less than 2 minutes later, a reply arrived, are you in trouble? Is it related to Area 1? I replied, yes, I wonder if you know anything about that area, or about Shuho and Lanai's whereabouts. I know. I'm also in charge of intelligence gathering, so I have a good understanding of a lot of inside information. Now, I can tell you one thing, the people who took your two sisters, Shuho and Lanai, were from the first sector's Anbu, likely acting on orders from the first sector's Anbu boss. I read the memories of several of the guards at the scene and discovered quite a bit of something sinister. Those two were used as hostages to lure you here, seemingly because they didn't want you to hinder their plan. You've probably heard a bit about the plan, right? I haven't fully understood the details, and the guards don't have much information, Xingze Uhu replied, seemingly sharing some of the relevant information she'd gathered. That message certainly contained a lot of useful information for me. I replied again, thank you, Jiuhu. Do you know the whereabouts of those two now? Shortly after I replied, another text message rang. Xingze Uhu replied, those two were first taken to the third area. The city of military honor, the general's mansion in Clay City. Once there, they may be transferred again, their memories of being further guarded, and the location is unknown to them. We will contact the person inside the general's mansion for details later. The person inside the general's mansion, referring to Rock, my former rival at the academy. He was particularly attentive to my sister, Shuhu. The situation is still in progress, and everything is still fluid. First, we need to locate the general's mansion. After that, Xingze Uhu and the Green Alliance's intelligence network may make further progress, which means I can't act for a while. So I replied, one more question, have you seen Guanling at the academy? I had previously received information about Guanling's presence in the academy area, and she could be a key figure in this incident, so I asked this question. A moment later, I received a reply, not yet. Miss Guanling was indeed traveling with you. Did she leave? What happened? Seeing those messages, I immediately replied, she left on the way. I don't know why, but I think she might be hiding something, is that so? I'll keep a close eye on her situation, and I'll also ask for the help of everyone around me. Xingze, remember, it's not just me who's helping you right now, but also your classmates, your friends, and the younger generation you're caring for. In a short while, Xingze responded again. Friends, probably the class monitor, Qin Liang, and others, they're truly a significant force, but I still regret it now. I should have asked Guanling about those things, but it's too late now. Thank you all. Please contact me if you have any further information, I replied to the text message. And with that, the communication ended. My conversation with Xingze yielded new results. Contacting her was indeed the right decision. We're not the only ones taking action on this matter. The next thing we must consider is reporting the intelligence I've obtained to the higher-ups here. Now is the time to gather as much information as possible. Otherwise, we'll have a hard time getting to the truth. Chapter 255 New Developments. It was Saturday afternoon. In the 6-story student dormitories adjacent to Xingze College, Yuzian and the others, now students, were resting in their residence. Because it was the weekend, they had recently heard about Li Xingze and his sister, and they were wondering if they could do anything. They had visited his class yesterday to check on him, but hadn't made much progress. The college's leadership was working diligently to coordinate and get a response as soon as possible. The series of events surrounding Li Xingze had spread widely, appearing frequently on the college's official social media platforms. Yuzian, browsing the discussion group, was also participating in the discussion. The original intention was to call out the instructor and offer support, but she was currently arguing with a thread about a third-year student, Li Xingze, who might have committed a serious crime and was in hiding somewhere. Her sister had been taken away, and there had been no further news. Yuzian believed the instructor would appear soon, but many of the other party seemed to have different opinions and were currently arguing with her. In her reply, she seemed to have forgotten her original intention and became somewhat displeased, launching into a barrage of criticism. She even revealed her student's ID and class. However, upon learning that the other party was a first year, she was deemed to lack authority and told, "At this academy, you need to be humble. First years should be more respectful to their seniors. Yes, even online, it should be like this." Junior, Pingman, walking nearby, was also deeply concerned about the situation. Seeing him, Yuzian called him over, saying, "Pingman, please help out. Those people on the social media are really going too far. They're logging and using the computer in your room." Pingman said, "Wait, let's do it now, it's okay. Log in with your student card and help. We must have confidence that Senior Xingze will return soon." "That's not true." "I think so, but forget about the internet. It's better to just wait for news from the academy," Pingman said, then walked by. "Hey, you fan," reading on the sofa on the other side, interrupted, like Pingman said, "Don't forget your original intention." Also at Xingze Academy, in a class, although it was Saturday, a few students were present. In the center of the empty classroom, they gathered around Xingze, surrounded by Qin Liang, class monitor Lin Qin, Ribo, the red-haired man, and others. "There's no new progress yet. Those two have been taken away for over a day," Ribo said. "I've also tried many channels to inquire, but there's been no results so far." "Has Xingze made any progress?" Qin Liang asked. Upon hearing this, Xingze said, "Right now, the only progress we've made is information from Rock, who's serving as a guard at the general's mansion, that those two have been transferred to another location." "Where is that location?" "Probably somewhere in Area 1. Rock isn't quite sure of the details," Xingze replied. Transfer again. That's really suspicious. What are those guys trying to do?" Ribo said. "For now, all we can do is wait for further developments," said class monitor Lin Qin. The few people gathered in this empty classroom were all waiting for further developments in the cave. I also waited quietly, sitting on a bed in my room in meditation. Although the time hadn't arrived yet, I could use this opportunity to adjust and adapt to this new world. This would help me make better choices for the next move. All of this seemed a bit too sudden, so I had to be more prepared. That was the right thing to do right now. Besides that, I'll share the intelligence I've received with Miss Lin Feng at the main camp at the appropriate time. There's no need to do that now, as we haven't yet secured definitive intelligence. It's better to say we're just waiting to see what the other side will do. Both of us are probably being extremely cautious at this point. Then, in the afternoon, I received a notification from the main camp about inside information. Upon receiving this information, I rose from my bed, left my room, and headed towards the main camp. I passed through the main camp's gate and reached the room at the far end of the second-floor corridor. I opened the door and entered. Inside, Zhou Qing and Miss Lin Feng were both there. Zhou Qing saw me and said, "It seems that Xingze has made some progress on the matter of your two sisters just now." "Really? What progress?" I asked. Hearing this, Lin Feng in the control center on the other side said, "Regarding your two sisters, they seem to have been transferred to somewhere in the second area and are still in custody, is that so?" "I heard before that they were transferred to the general's mansion," I said. "Is that your personal information?" "I got the information through someone's intelligence. Just like you have many trustworthy intelligence investigators, I also know such people," I responded honestly. "In other words, you have some good intelligence now, right?" Lin Feng said lightly. "Well, coming here is to exchange intelligence." "I see, this is a good thing. The intelligence network is even bigger," Lin Feng said. "Then, are there any more details?" I said. "Regarding the actions of the Dark Department in the first area, they seem to have conveyed news about your two sisters to us through the spies of the Green Alliance. This is what I want to tell you, Xingze," Lin Feng said, and through her control, a few images appeared on the main screen. In it, a masked man, holding photos of my two sisters, said, "If you want your sisters safe, then tomorrow, come to Area 32, the Green Alliance branch. Only then will you be able to see them. Otherwise, there's no telling what will happen." Seeing this, I couldn't help but look gravely, and said, "Those guys actually used despicable means. I've considered this matter. As expected, I should tell you. It's clearly a trap to lure you in," Lin Feng said. "How is the credibility?" "Very low. That's why I'm hesitant. There's a high possibility it's false information. What should I do about Xingze? I want to know your opinion." Hearing this, I pondered. It's a trap, no doubt. If I don't go, my sisters will. I have to calm down on this. Area 1, while a place of great power, is also a place where so many people know about it. Anything they do to my sisters could ruin their reputations. If they handle it properly, they'll face severe punishment. But even so, I can't choose not to go because of the low credibility. I have to go. The time is tomorrow afternoon, Miss Lin Feng. I think I still need to go there, I said. In this situation, I have also thought of some countermeasures. The branch of the Green Alliance is basically occupied by the first area, but we also have a companions there. That is our secret weapon." "Really? You have thought about it, Miss Lin Feng?" I said. "Well, I don't want to take risks on things that I am not sure of. There's undoubtedly a chance for us to reverse the situation, so we must do it. Although we are weak, didn't the ancients often say that evil cannot defeat good?" "Okay, then it's decided, Miss Lin Feng. I respect your decision, so the command of the day will be left to you, and I will do my best to cooperate," I said. "No problem," Lin Feng said. The corresponding conclusion was basically reached after the conversation, and the next step was the on-the-spot issues. "Let's keep in touch if there's any progress." "That's all for now," I said. Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded lightly. At this time, Zhou Qing on the side said, "I will keep in close contact with you until the incident tomorrow is over. Lord Xingze, I will also be the person responsible for transmitting information." "Okay." Hearing this, I said, "I understand. There's nothing wrong with what you did. Let's do it, then I'll be in the room next to you for the time being." "Please give me your advice," Zhou Qing said. "If you don't mind, men." "I have nothing to say," I said, and after that, we left the room one after another. Chapter 256, Heading to the Appointment Place. It was already 5 in the afternoon when I exited the main camp gate, almost time for dinner. The aroma of food wafted through the cavern. This place truly had a unique charm, accompanied by a gentle, chill breeze. I decided to return to my room and headed to the other side. Zhou Qing, who had followed me, also joined me, heading towards the residential building. As I headed there, Zhou Qing followed suit, apparently intending to live next door to me. He looked at me, which was understandable. Anything out of the ordinary would be very troublesome. We walked to the building's entrance together and entered. Zhou Qing followed me all the way to the second floor. Along the way, I spotted several Green Alliance members I'd met several times before. They all paid brief attention to the green-haired woman following me. Zhou Qing didn't react, simply walking by as usual. He didn't seem to mind any male interference. After all, this was our place. I then walked to my room, which was the second to last room near the end. There was an empty room next to mine, and Zhou Qing also understood. She followed me to the door of my room, and then she said, "Xingze, I'll live in the room next to you. Is that okay?" "No problem, just like I said just now," I said. When I was about to use the key to open the door here, Zhou Qing walked towards the room next to me, and then tried to open the door. The door was locked. Of course, she also prepared the key, and then she opened the door with the key. Just as she was about to step in, she saw a young man with bandages on his feet in the room. His hands and feet seemed to be injured. When he came over, he saw Zhou Qing and said, "Oh, Miss Zhou Qing, what's the matter?" Seeing this, Zhou Qing replied, "Well, isn't this room empty?" At this time, a member at the back of the corridor responded, "Don't you know yet? In fact, a scout just came back in the afternoon. He seemed to have twisted his foot on the way to a mission and came back early. Because the nearby rooms are temporarily occupied, he lives here." Hearing this, Zhou Qing said, "Is that so? I'm so sorry, I'm a bit clumsy," the member standing in front of Zhou Qing said, hand on the back of his head. "No, it's not your fault. It's okay. Rest well." "Sorry to bother you," Zhou Qing said goodbye and closed the door. Zhou Qing then turned to me, a look of uncertainty on her face. She slowly approached. A member observing the situation said, understandingly, "Miss Zhou Qing, are you staying here?" "Yes, that's right." Several members behind him couldn't help but smile. "As for rooms, only the new Xingze is available, as it's the largest," a member said. "I see. I understand," Zhou Qing replied coldly. Then, Zhou Qing walked towards me, lowering his head slightly as he looked down at me. Xingze, since there's no other room, can I stay in yours?" Zhou Qing's voice was a bit low. I understood the situation and said, "No problem, there's plenty of space in that room." "Sorry to bother you," Zhou Qing said, following me into the room. Her expression made the other members around her laugh. Zhou Qing followed me into the living room. She had short hair that barely reached her shoulders and was a bit petite, though taller than Shuhui. She was standing silently at the side of the hall, unsure of what to do. Since there was another person staying in this room, I thought it would be polite to say something. "Zhou Qing, it's almost dinner time. Wanna go together later?" I casually brought up the topic of dinner. Zhou Qing looked up at me and said, "Oh, by the way, I still have some luggage to bring in. Can I go get it first?" "Go ahead. As you can see, there's plenty of space here," I said. Then she trotted out, heading to her previous quarters to get some daily necessities. Zhou Qing went to her room and packed everything she needed into a suitcase. She quickly packed the essentials, then simply closed the suitcase and headed out. She dragged the suitcase toward the building. After a few moments, she reached the second-floor hallway. Walking deeper, draped in a brown coat, she caught the attention of the other members. Zhou Qing ignored them and dragged the suitcase to Li Xingze's room. She was in a rush, and though the meaning was unclear, she felt a little tired. Zhou Qing took a few breaths, catching her breath, then raised her head and walked slowly toward the door. I was waiting in the lobby when I saw Zhou Qing put her luggage aside. She looked a little strained, evidently exhausted from carrying it all the way here. "Xingze, please keep me company for a while," Zhou Qing said, catching her breath, looking up slightly. "It's been a few times now. But there was nothing I could do." He seemed to be someone who valued etiquette. Hearing this, I said, "It's dinner time next. We have important things to do tomorrow, so we'll go in a little while. After that, we'll rest and prepare for tomorrow." "Yes, I understand," Zhou Qing replied. Soon after, we left the room and headed to the dining area within the cave to prepare for dinner similar to a previous time in the desert. Zhou Qing and I each ate separately after receiving our meals. Afterward, I returned to my room. I was also likely to be questioned by other members along the way, and since I didn't have much to say about tomorrow's matters, I decided to leave as soon as possible. After returning to my room, I began to rest in silence. After a while, I heard my door open, which was the sound of Zhou Qing entering. By tomorrow, we all needed to make the necessary preparations, especially the Green Alliance. I was only heading to the target location as agreed, but they were the ones who were even busier. We had to make the best judgment based on the situation. This was probably a critical moment. After a while, I walked out of my room and into the hall. I saw Zhou Qing sitting on the edge of the sofa in the hall. She also understood I had left the room. I asked, "How are the preparations going over there?" "It's going pretty smoothly," Zhou Qing said. "Really? Are there any changes?" I asked again. "Not yet. We'll still depart tomorrow as planned, at 1 p.m., arriving at our destination at 3 p.m. I nodded. "That's it for now." With that, I returned to my room. I'd also shared the intelligence we'd obtained with Xingze, so they should know about it. I didn't expect them to help me, but I did so out of trust. I had faith in Xingze and the others, and exchanging information was crucial to finding clues. I did receive the latest developments from Mecha Academy. They weren't aware of tomorrow's incident yet, and were still negotiating. This meant tomorrow wasn't going to be a good day. The next day was a cloudy, but pleasant day. In the morning, I quietly gazed at the forest outside the cave's back door. This area was quite pleasant, with fresh air and a sense of nature. As of morning, the mission schedule remained unchanged. I was to depart in the afternoon, and this afternoon leg might be crucial. After a quiet moment in the jungle, I headed inside the cave. Nearby, members of the Green Alliance were cultivating. They all seemed to possess a deep understanding of plant-based abilities, growth and regeneration. The power of nature. After that, I spent the afternoon, and everything went according to plan. We were headed to Area 32. The Green Forest realm consisted of me, along with Zhou Qing and several other members. After completing the necessary preparations, we prepared to launch our Mechas. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257 Green League Division. Our target location is Sector 32, the Green Forest Territory. In the jungle at the border, the Green Alliance branch base is located. That's where I and several other members of the Green Alliance are headed. According to our investigation, the guards from Sector 1 arrived at the branch base at 1:30 p.m. and are waiting. I'm currently piloting my blue mech towards the target location. Following me are several other mechas, along with members like Zhou Qing and the blue-haired young man, Hua Fei. This could be considered a trade, me on the other side, and my sister on the other side. It's a strange thing, but strange things like this always seem to happen in this world. We're scheduled to arrive at the Green Alliance branch base around 2:30 p.m. At this point, we're still unsure of what's going on there. The guards from Sector 1 have already appeared, but there's no news of my two sisters' whereabouts. Lin Feng and Crane should be thinking of some solutions to this problem. Based on our latest conclusions, if we don't see my sister by 2 p.m., the deal will be cancelled. The Green Alliance branch is currently acting as a confirmer, negotiating with the guards of Area 1. A former Green Alliance member has revealed his identity and is communicating with them. They've been ordered to have a confirmer confirm the identities of Li Xingze's two sisters before 2 p.m., or Li Xingze, who had originally considered coming, will likely cancel his planned visit. Under this threat, the other party seems hesitant to act rashly. Recklessly abusing their power could exacerbate the situation. Their target is me, and I'm heading towards their location. This is a test for both parties, so every step must be carefully considered. Our aircraft is currently traveling from the eastern outer boundary, heading straight towards Area 32 in the south. As we approach the new Century City, we begin our planned flight path, a relatively safe route chosen based on map analysis. Of course, there's no such thing as a particularly safe location within the new Century City. Shortly after entering, we enter stealth mode, moving like a stealth aircraft towards our target location. The reason I'm here with these members is precisely because of the Green Alliance's secret technique, stealth and stealth. This is also a key reason why the Green Alliance possesses such powerful explorers, spies, and intelligence seekers. According to Lin Feng, it seems the Green Alliance's immense intelligence-gathering capabilities are what's threatening the new Century capital's leadership, leading the powerful in the first region to try to control the Green Alliance. While they're largely under control, nearly a third of them still follow Lin Feng'an Crane. This is the current situation. My allies here are the few Green Alliance members, led by Lin Feng'an Crane. They've likely already sensed the conspiracy to expose the shadowy plans within the first region. It's a competition to see who has the higher skill. After a long flight, around 2 p.m., under pressure from our personnel, the Green Alliance branch finally brought my sister out. The person being brought to the Green Alliance area near Sector 32, according to the verification capabilities of the personnel, is my sister, Li Shuhui. She's a radiant form, making her relatively easy to identify. However, only Shuhui appeared. My other sister, Lan Yu, was not. The situation is this. This might be a calculated move. Bringing only one of the two for the meeting was a conservative approach, a precautionary measure, given the possibility of another. Despite our repeated requests, they still insisted. As agreed, we've brought the person here. The other person's appointment will be held after we meet with Xingze from the Academy, they said. In this situation, there's no turning back for me. The only option is to move forward. Perhaps there was no turning back from the start. But the commander's opinion now effectively eliminated any reason for me to refuse the appointment. It was already past 2 a.m., with about 15 minutes left until 2:30 a.m., and we had already arrived above the border of Sector 34. At that moment, a call came from headquarters. A liaison officer said, "Currently, there are 2 more isolation areas from Area 32. We're expected to arrive in 15 minutes. Please prepare." Everyone received this alert. Then, about 10 minutes later, we were approaching the jungle at the border of Area 32, our rendezvous point. The commander's portrait appeared on my screen. She said, "We're almost there. It's unavoidable. The next on-the-spot judgment is up to you. Try to handle it as gently as possible." "I understand," I replied. Then, Lin Feng's image faded from my screen. Instead, a number of red dots appeared, presumably representing the enemy's number. On the other side, the figures of the guards were also visible. They were in an open field not far from the Green Alliance branch base. We were so close now, there was no time to hesitate. "Disengage stealth mode, we're preparing to land," I said to the crew members around me. "Understood." With that, several mechas dispersed and descended over the jungle. Headquarters had selected a suitable landing site based on terrain analysis. Following their instructions, we landed one after another in a clearing. Immediately, the enemy crew noticed our landings. Surrounding them were numerous nature-type mechas, seemingly combat-capable and powerful guard-type mechas. "Those are indeed the White Knight Mecha Guards, the honor guards from Sector 1, the commander said before departing. Upon hearing this, I disembarked from the Azure Heart Mecha. Led by me, the other members followed suit. Not far away, numerous guards, clad in white robes emblazoned with cross emblems, remained calm upon seeing us arrive. They stood in 2 neat rows, weapons in hand, with a clear path between them, presumably the path for us to take. In front of the 2 rows of guards stood a man in a red cape, looking somewhat distinguished. He was about 40 years old, with a mustache and reddish-brown hair. Seeing this, I walked towards him, followed by Zhou Qing and Hua Fei. When I was about a distance from him, I said, "Excuse me, who are you? Did you bring those 2 women with you?" He saluted, seemingly aristocratic, and said, "Nice to meet you. You must be Li Xingze, right?" "Indeed," I said. "I am John Hanks, Earl of the Central Domain City, the honorary capital of the First Region." The man introduced himself. Earl, it seemed, was a title reserved for the First Region and the Royal City, a symbol of nobility. However, in modern times, there's no clear distinction between the two. It simply refers to the descendants of those with outstanding achievements. It's a respectable title. Mr. John, you understand, I came here to see my sister. Are they alright? I asked. Mr. Li Xingze, as a student. You have used your special abilities to find the king's key. You have made a great contribution. I pay my respects to you. Your sister is safe and sound. Please rest assured, John said. So, Mr. John, what's the matter? What happened to the key? John asked cautiously. It's disappeared, I said. It's disappeared? That means it's yours. That's the only explanation. That's fine. Is that all I have to ask? I said. No, as the Earl, I would like to invite you to the royal city to meet the king. We've prepared an itinerary for you, John said. The idea of going to the royal city and meeting the king puzzled me. I'd made similar invitations before. I didn't understand what they meant, but there was a hint of cunning in the man's words, and I couldn't help but be cautious. Before that, how are my sisters? Bringing them out would be a sign of sincerity for us to meet, I replied. Really? If you'd like to see her, I'll bring her out right away, John said. He glanced off to the side and gestured to a nearby guard, who then headed towards the barracks. After a moment, I saw 2 guards leading one of my sisters, Shuhua, towards us. Shuhua, led by 2 guards, approached. I spotted her. She was alone there, and from what I could see, she seemed fine. As she slowly approached, she looked over at me, giving me a gentle gaze. Brother, long time no see. The girl before me was indeed my sister, Li Shuhua, but beyond that, I couldn't sense any other sister around. So I asked, Shuhua, do you know where Lenai is now? Shuhua replied, my sister got separated from me on the way, so I'm not sure. John then said, Mr. Li Xingze, the thing is, your other sister isn't around right now. You won't see her until you reach the royal city. Why? That's not what we agreed on, I said in a slightly cold voice. It was to welcome you, John said without changing his expression. Even so, I knew his words lacked sincerity, as if he was just trying to give me a perfunctory answer. I wondered what he was planning. Chapter 258 The Earl's Scheming. For a moment, John and I fell silent. My sister approached me, seemingly in good spirits. In the current situation, even if I could recover one of my sisters, it might be a trap. Regardless, I came here fully prepared. After confirming Shuhu's well-being, I asked, Mr. John, is my other sister in the royal city? John coughed lightly and said, indeed, he was lying. I saw it immediately. So, was the royal city a trap to lure me in? What would happen if I refused? It's very likely that. But before that, there was something else to confirm. Mr. John, from what you've said, you took my 2 sisters away so I could come to the royal city. Why do you do that, Mr. John? I asked. Because the royal court is in a hurry and wants to see the true identity of the person who has obtained the key, John replied. He was lying again. Is that so? Even so, you're willing to make both academies anxious about this. That's a bit too much for others, I said. Because it's your 2 sisters, John said. You're willing to use force to take them away. Isn't that because you also did something you shouldn't have done in the South American desert? John hid his words well, preventing me from understanding anything else. If I could read his thoughts, I wouldn't have to go to such lengths. Unfortunately, that's not possible yet, and Xingze is not here. John, unfortunately, your words won't earn my trust, so I won't go to the royal city. If you want me to go, first bring Lan Yu with you, I responded. That's really troubling, John said, his eyes shifting. It seemed he was becoming more of a beast. Earl John, your superior is taking advantage of this period to do something covert, right? I said. My superior, are you talking about the king? No, it's Pullen Ains, I really don't know. Mr. Pullen is the good citizen manager of the 1st district. Sometimes he goes to the streets to visit, sometimes he goes to church to worship, and sometimes he gives food to the poor. He is a very kind person, John said. Sometimes he also carries out dangerous plans in secret, I said. Hearing this, John showed a slightly stern look and said, Mr. Li Xingze, make a choice, go to the royal city, or be arrested by us for insulting the commander of the 1st district. Hey, did I say anything? I asked back. Yes, you did. Please be prepared for the words that insulted Mr. Pullen. Hearing this, it seemed that the game of dialogue was over. I said, anyway, your original plan was to take me to the royal city, or to capture me, right? Then this matter, John said with a despicable expression. That's not the case, you idiot. Your acting has been exposed. How could our boss go with a fool like you? The blue-haired young man, Hu Fei, said angrily. That's right. You can fool us with such a lowbrow method, Zhou Qing said. For a moment, both sides were at odds, the harsh truth bringing them to a stalemate. Really? Guards. Capture these traitors, John shouted. People like you who don't keep their promises and are plotting something behind the scenes, you should be prepared, Zhou Qing added. At this moment, the guards surrounded us one after another. Zhou Qing, Hu Fei, and I formed a triangle, gazing at the surrounding guards. Just as the guards were about to close in on us, Several people in dark green clothing appeared from outside their circle, emerging from the jungle beyond the guards. At this moment, their powers were activated. The Green Alliance members, standing in groups of 3 or 4 outside the guards, glowed with a turquoise light. Plants suddenly sprouted from the surrounding ground, vine-like growth rapidly spreading and wrapping around the legs of the guards before us. The vines intertwined like a twist, momentarily restraining the guards. Life absorption, one of them gleamed, and the vines that bound the soldiers began to absorb their strength. Seeing this, the guards couldn't help but focus on the ground beneath them. The vines became tangled, and some used their weapons to cut through them. But their strength gradually faded, making them unable to withstand the resilient vines beneath them. Paralysis, another person used their power to cause the vines to bloom, releasing pollen that paralyzed anyone who caught the scent. The guards surrounding us collapsed one after another. What's going on, Green Alliance? What are you doing? John, observing the situation, couldn't help but question the men. Unfortunately, we're not the Green Alliance you think we are. Logically, we should be former Green Alliance members, several people on the periphery said. They're all our accomplices, really? I expected this to happen. Traitors, today is your day, John declared. Standing beside this man were 2 different guards. They looked different from the guards, possessing extraordinary strength and abilities. They were currently guarding Earl John's safety. As he spoke, a swarm of natural-shaped mechas suddenly appeared around them, slowly approaching from further out in the jungle. Their number was too numerous to count on 2 hands. The mecha formations formed a larger encirclement. We looked around. The mechas were all gray or white, with cross emblems. Earlier, Miss Linfeng had mentioned that they were probably the White Knights, a mecha regiment with formidable offensive and defensive capabilities. Numerous mechas formed a massive encirclement around us. This is the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, Count John sneered. The mechas advanced one after another, uttering, "If you don't resist, you will be arrested. If you resist, you will lose your life." This was a predictable outcome. At this moment, I raised my hand slightly, and from the other direction, a figure streaked at breakneck speed like a blue meteor, instantly knocking a white escort aircraft into the air. What a swift speed, John exclaimed in amazement at the sight before him. The surrounding mechas were also amazed. This was no ordinary mecha. But I should have said, be prepared. John remained calm. It looked like there was something he hadn't used yet. Chapter 259 Aerial Battle. As John spoke, several pure white mechas rose from the jungle further away. Their exteriors were constructed with a platinum exterior, with crosses etched across their upper arms. They held knight lances in their hands. Silver wings adorned their backs. 3 of them approached us at high speed. These 3 distinctive pure white mechas instantly closed in on us. They were massive, approximately 18 meters long, and roughly AA-shaped. I could tell they were different from the other escort mechas. They were likely top tier, and the pilots who could operate them were certainly skilled. They were more likely to be special abilities. That's Hu Fei, standing nearby, couldn't help but exclaim. At this moment, led by my mecha, Azure Heart, and followed by several other mechas, they arrived one after another. That was our prepared countermeasure. It's top tier, right? You guys board the mecha first. It's dangerous here, I said. Our force, besides the 4 mechas and the several members who came with me, plus the hidden forces within this Green Alliance branch, totaled just over 10 mechas. The enemy had over twice our number, and they also had those 3 special mechas. I understand, but Xingze, what are you going to do? Hu Fei asked. We'll make a decision based on the situation. I'll stay on the ground for now, I said. Then I'll stay and help, Hu Fei said. Hurry up and take my sister with you, I replied. The situation was urgent, and Hu Fei had no time to hesitate. He silently nodded in agreement at my rather serious words. Zhou Qing and Hu Fei then boarded their mechas one after another. One of them was a gray-white mecha, another one of ours, nearly top tier, with powerful combat capabilities. Hu Fei boarded the mecha he had previously obtained from Xingze, while my sister Shuhua, at my persuasion, entered the other Cyan mecha with Zhou Qing. Be careful, Lord Xingze, Zhou Qing said before leaving with Shuhua. No problem, I replied. Then, several mechas behind me took off one after another, and a fierce battle erupted in the air. Although our forces were weak, we refused to give in. Led by my Azure Heart, the mechas above were shot down one after another in the clash. Through my primordial spirit, I could remotely control each mecha with my consciousness, just as if it were my own body. The escort mechas, led by my mecha, launched a barrage of attacks, and several were shot down one after another. As expected, you didn't come here casually, but Xingze, you've already caught a turtle in the jar. We have 3 knights, said the man, John, in the air crash shelter not far ahead of me. He had anticipated the possibility of this situation from the beginning and had made thorough preparations. 2 guards in silver armor were still beside him, observing the battle. Elsewhere, following John's command, the 3 pure white knights, watching from high above, immediately received the order and began their mission. The 3 pure white knights instantly joined the fray, one charging at my blue mech first. Its pure color knight, wielding a knight's lance, charged forward, its lance imbued with intense energy, emitting a faint, pure light. Its strike was blocked by my sword, but the impact was significant, forcing the azure heart back a short distance. The mechanism surrounding its lance's handle released several small missiles, which I narrowly missed. While I dodged the surprise attack, a mech behind me was hit. As a result, it lost its balance and plummeted into the jungle. That's my comrade. I didn't have time to worry about him. I immediately zeroed in on the mech's trajectory, closing in at super acceleration, and struck. A flash of blue light flashed, and the enemy white knight mech took my blow. Though it showed signs of retreating, a cut on its chest still pierced it, forcing it back slightly. As both were top tier, the Azure Heart rivaled its opponents in performance. It seemed I had the upper hand in speed. So, let's just dominate with speed. Tough fella, the enemy operator said. Elsewhere, Zhou Qing, Hu Fei, and the others were also locked in a tough fight. Their mechas were under pressure from multiple on-one attacks, both from range and melee. The enemy White Knight mechas were no ordinary unit, and they had practiced combat coordination. We were no exception, but we were outnumbered, and there were 3 mechas that looked like bosses. Those are the 3 knights of the White Knights mecha team, the Wang and Wang brothers. They are both top tier. The team led by those 3 knights has won many honorable battles and is a respected presence in the first area. Be careful, their offense and defense are quite formidable. At the base, the intelligence officer explained the enemy's identity. Even so, do they have any weaknesses? Will be hard to deal with here, a member said hurriedly. But there was no countermeasure. We were not in a passive position at this moment. 3 top-tier mechas, with over 20 escorts. A top-tier mecha, if equipped with the appropriate weapons, could easily destroy an area. Ordinary mechas would struggle to withstand them. This was not only due to the difference in mecha performance, but also the difference in pilot skill. The 3 knights all possessed highly skilled pilots. In a short period of time, in addition to the top-tier mecha engaged in battle with my Azure Heart, another pure White Knight mecha had already been on a rampage, destroying over half of our mechas, 5 or 6 of which had already been shot down, their pilots having escaped one after another. Now you know how powerful they are. These are the 3 knights and their White Knight mechas. The boss's White Knight King is still on standby in the air, but there's no need for him to attack, John said calmly from a nearby shelter. The remaining units are my blue mech, Zhou Qing's, and Hu Fei's newly acquired off-white mech. While Hu Fei possesses a top-tier mech, his piloting abilities aren't yet up to par with a mech's power. However, he's also a wielder of the primordial spirit, and with the power of lightning, he managed to shoot down several escort mechas. Currently, facing pursuit from Wang Yan, one of the 3 knights, Hu Fei's mech was completely at a disadvantage in the aerial tug-of-war. The enemy only had mid-range and long-range attacks, not a very strong melee formation, but they were suppressing the off-white mech, which was primarily focused on mid-range and long-range combat, with their ammunition. Boy, it seems you've taken our mech. Even though it's top tier, you're not worthy of owning it, Wang Yan said, facing the off-white mech Hu Fei was in. Hu Fei simply gritted his teeth, aiming his weapons at the enemy, blasting the mech with missiles and laser cannons. However, he was technically outmatched and constantly bombarded by bullets. Despite its decent defenses, the mech gradually suffered damage. Damn it, you're a sneaky fellow after all. Let me give you the final blow, Wang Yan said. He no longer engaged in a close-range stalemate. He grasped his sharp, silver-gleaming, mighty knight's lance and advanced directly towards the gray-white mech. The lance's light converged, imbued with unfathomable power, visible even to the naked eye, the force being instinctively sensed. At that moment, silver white wings shone from behind the pure white mech, and it suddenly accelerated forward, like a streak of silver light, scattering tiny particles of light in its wake. Its speed was so swift that it was directly before his eyes in the blink of an eye, its momentum unleashing a formidable threat, making it impossible to dodge, given Hua Fei's control. Instantly, a pure white mecha, charging at the speed of silver light, pierced the gray-white mecha with its spear in one swift motion. Instantly, the overwhelming force sent Hua Fei's mecha careening backwards. Under the thrust of the spear, Hua Fei's mecha grasped the tip of the spear with both hands, starting with his right hand. Driven by the force, he retreated continuously, knocking down a nearby tree and then another one beyond. Hua Fei gritted his teeth, clinging to the spear's tip. His right arm, brimming with sharp claws, held the spear in place, preventing it from piercing the mecha's body. The two continued their downward spiral, crashing into a third giant tree near the ground. The impact gradually dissipated. Hua Fei, knowing he had a mission, warmed his whole body. His sharp right hand, 5 claws firmly grasped the tip of the knight's lance. Then, a blue energy surged from his palm, a cascading current of electricity gushing wildly. Don't underestimate me, you. Despite the intense impact, Hua Fei remained resolute. The current flowed from his palm, releasing from his body like a raging wave. Under the force of the lightning, the knight's lance was gradually pushed back. Hua Fei grasped it with both hands, twisted it, and slammed it into the ground. Instantly, the pure white knight was thrown to the ground. The intense current temporarily destabilized its performance, making it unable to move. It was thrown violently to the ground. A large dent formed in the ground, and then the knight slowly rose to its feet. Hua Fei's own followed, slowly sliding down from the tree. Even this powerful machine struggled to withstand the impact, temporarily crippling its flight performance. Damage to the machine exceeded 30%. The white knight, braced by its spear, stood steady on the ground, recognizing that the opponent had reached its limit. However, its own spear was also damaged, its tip shattered like gravel, its movement sending bits of debris flying. The spear was clearly incomplete. Well done. I am one of the 3 knights of the White Knights, Wang Yan. Who are you? I am Hua Fei, remember. With these words, the pure white knight lifted slightly from the ground, its silver wings flapping as it approached. Although Hua Fei's machine could no longer fly, it still retained its mobility. He used his sharp right hand as a weapon, aiming at the incoming pure white machine. Silver flashes and lightning flashed across each other. The pure white knight machine passed behind the gray-white machine, and immediately swung the knight's spear and walked in another direction without even looking at the machine behind it. At this time, Hua Fei's machine slowly turned around and saw the other figure. The right arm and chest had suffered fatal injuries. The arm was broken and there was a big cut on the chest. The wound was almost to the core of the machine. Despite this, the performance of the machine had stopped and could not operate. It stood there like a monkey and could not move. I know, it's a very noisy guy. The machine then went in another direction. Hua Fei, in despair, punched the detachment button with his fist. Along with the cabin and him, he was ejected and landed in the distance. Chapter 260 Confrontation. At this moment, the situation above the jungle was somewhat chaotic, but the Green Alliance's mechas had been largely shot down. Overall, the situation was hopeless. This was what Earl John saw, and it was also true for most people. My mecha and 2 others remained, one of which was piloted by Zhou Qing. See? I told you not to resist, yet you insisted on resorting to such frivolous tactics. Do you realize your mistake? Earl John said, looking at me from a distance. Hearing this, I walked towards John, getting closer, and said, you think this nonsense is your business, but I don't. And there's still something I haven't finished with you. Meanwhile, above the jungle, my Azure Heart Mecha had gained the upper hand, its astonishing speed overpowering the top-tier Mecha. What are you trying to do? Xingze, John said, a hint of fear on his face. The man before him was no ordinary person. John's 2 special guards also stepped forward, their mission to protect the Earl's life. You're going to such lengths to get me out. What do you mean? I asked. Shut up. Orders are orders. I'm just following them, John shouted. There's still time to withdraw those troops, Earl John, I added. That's impossible, Xingze. Just like you said you didn't want to come with us, you ignorant fellows are the ones who started this war. Do you know your mistake? You're only speaking from your own perspective. If you want to hide, then hide. I'll find them. I looked at John and began to move forward. Seeing the situation was dire, the two guards stepped forward, attempting to stop me from approaching Earl John. I didn't retreat and continued forward. Just then, a white knight guard, wielding a long staff, approached. His steps and handling were extremely skillful. He came in front of me, the staff within arm's reach, and swung it horizontally. It struck my upper body, and the staff swung through me, seemingly piercing through my body. In reality, the wielder felt it was just a slash through the air. For a moment, the man wielding the club lost sight of me, having vanished with the blow. But he was a man of exceptionally sharp senses, and he glanced behind him, spotting the student, Xingze, standing beside Earl John. It was truly unbelievable, but it was happening right before his eyes. So fast it was unseen? That couldn't be possible. Even light should have been able to see it in an instant. It must have been some other ability. Earl John, startled by my sudden appearance, took 2 steps back and said, How did you get here, Xingze, you idiot, aren't you the Earl? Are you frightened to such an extent? Don't be ridiculous. I'm human. You're not frightening me. This is just human instinct. Hey, hurry, stop him. Earl John pointed at the special guards behind him. At that, the guards quickly approached, their faces obscured by their helmets. Each wielding a long club attacked from 2 sides, one above and one below, striking at my body and legs. I dodged backward, evading the attack. Count John quickly stepped away. The 2 guards, with their skillful and fierce attacks, swung their clubs at me repeatedly. Their rhythm was exquisite, truly extraordinary. I materialized within the gap, wielding a sword, and engaged them. My speed and strength were uncommon, perhaps I possessed special abilities or was cultivating. However, a year ago, I would have been unable to withstand them. Now, their attacks proved insignificant. A faint glow suddenly emanated from my body, and the 2 guards' clubs, launched almost simultaneously at me, stopped before me. An invisible air current deflected their blows. In this moment, I swung my sword horizontally. A faint golden light flashed, swirling horizontally at approximately 180 degrees. Both men in front of me were slashed by the light, sent flying and falling to the ground a short distance away. Amazing, the fallen guard sighed. That incredible agility and that inexplicable strike made both guards realize that there are always better people out there, and their abilities weren't quite up to par. What the hell is that? John asked. I glanced at him again, and now he hurriedly said, Someone, come and protect me. As he spoke, a massive shadow appeared in front of John, and a pure white mecha slowly descended from the sky. It was the White Knight King, the leader of the White Knight Mecha unit. He had been refusing to attack until recently, observing the battle from above. We're saved, White Knight King. With him, you stand no chance. Count, are you alright? The pilot inside the mecha said. Yes, I'm fine. I almost got killed. I'm glad you're alright. My orders are to protect you. With that, the White Knight King's hand suddenly shone with a faint white light. Within the light, Count John rose, slipping into the mecha's hand, and then through its palm, entering the mecha's interior. The pilot of the pure white mecha was a radiant, a rare male radiant. Soon, I realized the Count had already taken the back seat of the mecha. Punish him, Wang Yan. Show this fool the power of the royal family, Count John said. Is that so? But that man is the one the Count wants to take away? Are you taking him alive? Wang Yan, with his naturally parted bangs, asked from inside the cabin. It doesn't matter. Kill him. If he's the one with the key and is easily defeated, it just means he's not that capable, John said. I see. Then let's say hello, Wang Yan said. Then, the massive, pure-colored mecha before me extended a hand, gathering radiance within it, forming a powerful gust of wind that rushed downward, toward me. This gust of wind was accompanied by numerous energy particles, like a barrage of rocks, sweeping away the dust beneath my feet like a hurricane. But that wasn't enough to frighten me. The ground was lifted up, pummeled by particles of light, but I remained motionless on the patch of ground before me. A moment later, the turbulence subsided. Seeing the students below, unmoved and holding only a long sword, Wang Yan said, Sure enough, he's not such a simple opponent to deal with. After all, he's the one who possessed the key. Without this level of skill, my trip would have been in vain, John said. Then he added, Xingze, I urge you to be prepared. Look at your companions around you. Aren't they suffering greatly because of your selfish desire? Now follow me honestly, and I can withdraw my troops, he chuckled as he spoke. Chapter 261 Shit Down. At that moment, somewhere in the sky above the jungle, the pure-colored mecha of one of the three knights was shot down. The one who was shot down was Wang Jun, the youngest of the three. His pure-colored mecha was shot down by my mecha's rapid attack. Still standing in the jungle, in front of the crash shelter, I turned to Earl John and said, "It's truly tragic." "This is enough, isn't it?" I said this not only to Earl John in front of me, but also to the communicator hidden in my body. On the other end of the communicator was Commander-in-Chief Lin Feng. She was at headquarters, already monitoring the situation through the surveillance system, and had a general understanding of what was happening in the jungle of the Green Alliance branch. After hearing my words, Lin Feng, who was in the control room, observed the situation and said, "All right, Xingze. Our covert scouts have recorded what happened at the scene and will find a way to deal with it later." "Really? You've worked so hard, and their efforts have paid off," I said. "Yes, that's right. Now, please let me see the power the new king possesses," Lin Feng said. With that, my conversation with Lin Feng came to an end. John, noticing my strange tone, said, "Li Xingze, what are you talking about? Are you ready to surrender?" "John, this conversation is over. Your ridiculous words have been recorded. You will face the test of society and human relations next," I said. "What? You actually took my words? Who would believe such nonsense? Besides, we can just eliminate you all here. There will be no evidence left," John said. His words were indeed decisive. Even he himself soon noticed it, covering his mouth. He then said to Wang Yan, "That's enough. Take care of that guy. Whatever you do is up to you." "Really? I understand," Wang Yan said with a slight nod. He then turned his gaze to the student in front of him, Li Xingze, and said, "I don't know what the reason is, young man over there. Anyway, let's talk about it later. I will follow your orders." As he spoke, the enormous knight before me, wielding a spear, spoke no more, and thrust the tip of his spear towards me, stabbing downwards. The spear, massive to human, pierced the ground beneath my feet, creating a large dent and creating numerous cracks around it. To John, it seemed I had been annihilated by the spear, but no one else was visible after the spear was raised. The student who had been on this land had vanished. "Eh, where did he go?" Wang Yan was momentarily confused. "Indeed, I've seen something similar before. Li Xingze might have the ability to teleport or something like that," John, who was watching from the seat behind Wang Yan, said. "Is that so?" Wang Yan then looked around, but couldn't see the student. Even if he possessed that kind of special ability, or even a hidden ability, Wang Yan possessed considerable sensory abilities, and should be able to sense anything within a 20-meter radius. Suddenly, a blue machine approached quickly from a distance, accompanied by a burst of blue light. It streaked across the sky above Wang Yan's eyes, then landed beside him. "Is it in there?" Wang Yan instantly sensed the student's presence within the machine. "As you wish, let's decide a winner," I said. HMPH, Wang Yan looked in the direction of the blue machine, showing a hint of interest. "I didn't expect to enter that particular blue mech in that instant. That one's the most formidable of the enemies." "Is it his mech?" Count John said. "Anyway, our goal now is to shoot it down. That's all we need," Wang Yan said. Hearing this, John remained silent, continuing to watch the screen. At that moment, the pure-color night mech before me was turning towards me. It was clear that it was truly the strongest among the white knight mechas. I was now facing it, surrounded by several escort mechas. The situation seemed unfavorable, with only a small number of mechas against a large number. However, at this moment, the surrounding mechas, including John, were somewhat apprehensive of me and this mech. The former had already witnessed a mech's power, while the latter knew I possessed something different. "Then, let's decide the outcome, Student Li Xingze," Wang Yan said. His mech slowly ascended, and his azure heart rose with him. "Time's running out, let's do this," I said. As I spoke, the opponent's pure-colored mecha radiated a faint white light, and the knight's lance in its hand emanated a subtle ripple. Immediately, the opponent charged forward. That energy was unusual. Even in the recent past, I'd have struggled to cope with it. But now, I was different. Suddenly, the azure heart, the sword held by the blue mecha, shone with a faint golden light, and it also charged forward. In an instant, the two collided, the knight's lance and the golden sword. The impact caused a spatial vibration, like an earthquake, sending a powerful wave through the air. Instantly, I stepped back, dodging the sudden attack of the knight's lance. I moved to the side of the opponent, and with my free hand, I unleashed the plasma beam equipped by the mecha from my palm. The cyan beam struck the opponent's body, but the pure-colored mecha reacted swiftly, meeting the beam with its sharp lance. In one breath, I shattered the beam and charged straight at it with my lance. I didn't retreat, instead opening a blue shield to block the opponent's attack. The spear's impact on my shield gave me enough space to land the next blow. I immediately swung my sword, slashing the mech in front of me with a horizontal slash of light. The golden slash sent the opponent reeling back a distance. You're truly skilled. Seeing you has made me respect my students with new eyes, Wang Yan said. We were evenly matched, but the opponent didn't seem to be using his full strength yet. I was doing the same, merely testing my skills. Wang Yan was probably testing you with these few moves, and I was adjusting to this new level of control. Let's decide the outcome. Didn't I just say it? Let's finish it, I said. I understand. I won't show any mercy. As I spoke, the pure-colored mech, shimmering with a faint light, approached me again, its speed shifting from slow to fast, a dazzling change of pace, but I could see everything clearly, his every move. I dodged the opponent's attack with a sideways dodge. In that moment, I found an opening. I raised my sword and slashed downwards, a decisive blow. Like a waterfall, it cascaded down, its power unfathomable. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yan reacted as the blow of incomprehensible force descended. He had no time to dodge, but he possessed a shield of light energy, a pure white wall of defense opening outward to block the incoming blow. The shield momentarily blocked the blow, but in a fraction of a second, the slash pierced through it and slashed towards the pure-colored mecha, like a torrent of water. The pure-colored mecha plummeted downwards in a single swoop. With a resounding thud, the pure-colored knight mecha crashed to the ground, creating a large crater in the earth like a falling meteorite. A gash cut through the machine's body, neither too deep nor too shallow, but just enough to rob it of its momentum to fight again. Some of its internal connections were damaged. For a moment, John, unsure of what was happening, felt as if the world had turned upside down, as if he had fallen. Unbelted, he slowly climbed from the overturned back seat and said, Wang Yan, what exactly happened? We've been killed. The machine's shield collapsed in an instant, and then it suffered a fatal blow. From the moment on, it looked like the shield and its own abilities hadn't been depleted, but in that instant, they were rendered useless. It could only be a power from another dimension. How could this be? Count John couldn't help but wonder. The machine's interior was now a red warning, making it practically impossible to resume operation. While it was possible to draw on the power of the original spirit for a fight, it was not impossible, but it would be pointless. Among special abilities, that's the most incomprehensible and indescribable I've ever seen, Wang Yan said. Count John was lost in thought, his expression no longer as relaxed as it once was. In the sky above the jungle, several other mechas also took in the scene before them. The boss, the leader of the White Knight Mecha unit, had been defeated. They were filled with surprise and humiliation. The proud Night King had lost. This, in turn, fueled their fighting spirit. Several escort mechas, accompanied by my blue mecha, surrounded me from all sides. Suddenly, another top-tier pure-color night mecha arrived within my sight. Seeing its brother's destruction, it declared, You, sir? You've defeated our knight, the honorable White Knights. I repay you for this humiliation. As it spoke, the already slightly damaged top-tier mecha, its knight's lance gleaming as it darted towards me. Simultaneously, the surrounding mechas prepared to engage. I sensed the burning passion of those in the group, charging towards me. The mechas zeroed in on the blue mecha, most aiming for medium to long-range attacks. Wang Yan, one of the three knights, moved towards me. At this moment, it seems that all our units, except mine, have been defeated, but as planned, they have already begun to retreat. Currently, only Zhou Qing's unit is still functioning, and the other allies have left with her one after another. So, as Lin Feng said, I will make the next decision. Chapter 262 A New Step. For a moment, the numerous mechas saw me as a thorn in their side, a target, their sole target. From all directions in the air, escort mechas zeroed in on me, poised to attack. Wang Yan, one of the three knights, piloted a pure-colored mech, its silver wings aglow, closing in on me at breakneck speed. Suddenly, The blue Mechas within the night Mechas field of vision faded, then vanished. Instantly, the azure heart mech appeared before Wang Yan, one of the three knights, and suddenly, with a flash of golden light, it slashed past. Its pure-colored wings, caught off guard by the unexpected blow, lost their balance. The slightly damaged tip of the knight's spear, which was about to strike me, was instantly severed and shattered. It then plummeted downwards. At the same moment, Azure Heart appeared in multiple forms, appearing before the guarding machines one after another. Some struck with beams, others with slashing blows and impact bombs. In a flash, 6 machines were shot down, plummeting to the jungle floor. Wang Yan, one of the 3 knights, was also struck down in an instant. How could this be? Who is that person? How could such a thing happen? Wang Yan asked, puzzled. But as the machine plummeted to the ground, he understood the reason for the Night King's defeat. 6 machines were taken out in an instant, almost simultaneously. What kind of power was this? Machine splitting? No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't comprehend it. Even though he had fought many battles as one of the 3 knights and encountered many with supernatural powers, he had never encountered someone like the pilot of that machine. This had transcended the boundaries of physics. It was a different realm. Instantaneous movement is one of the supernatural powers I recently mastered, the power of divine movement. It allows me to travel anywhere at will with a single thought. However, my current range of movement is still quite limited. I mastered this power under guidance, but I haven't yet fully realized its profoundness. I'm still limited by my spatial understanding, unable to travel throughout the 4 seas and 3 realms. Then, multiple bodies appear, another supernatural power. They materialize without thought, transforming into anything, like after images, indistinguishable from the real thing. In the path of cultivation, supernatural powers are merely one of the powers inherent in one's nature. However, mortals are obscured by the external world of the 5 aggregates and 6 consciousnesses, making them difficult to manifest. Cultivators may attain enlightenment after reaching a certain level of cultivation. However, these supernatural powers vary greatly. Some externalists and demons possess them. The true unimpeded power transcends the 6 realms of reincarnation, allowing one to freely travel through the 10 Dharma realms without regressing. At this point, because 6 of the bodies were simultaneously shot down by my blue body, the remaining bodies, realizing the blue body's incredible power, dared not act rashly. It's alright, Xingze. Our members have almost all left that area. You should retreat too. Lin Feng's face appeared on the screen before me. I understand. Without anyone getting in the way, I don't want to do anything else, I said, and then steered the machine away in another direction. Meanwhile, Count John slowly climbed out of the cabin amidst the chaos. Looking at the receding blue figure, he couldn't help but say, the key, the king's power, is truly not so simple. This might be bad. John, his hair disheveled and slightly disheveled, bit his finger, his grace gone afterward. Everyone and I returned to the Green Alliance's secret base. Meanwhile, the former Green Alliance members who had escaped from their cabins also left with the help of members of the Green Alliance branch in the jungle. Although this area is considered under the jurisdiction of the first sector, that's only in theory. The man currently communicating with the secret base, Minister Luo Lin, is our companion. I met him not long ago when I was on a mission here with several juniors. Luo Lin is indeed a good person. We previously discussed the incident and the related civil unrest. On the surface, he was obeying orders from above, but behind the scenes, he and Linton and the others were secretly assisting us. This was a crucial factor in our safe departure. Afterward, the members who accompanied me to the Green Alliance branch, as well as those who ambushed us at the scene, returned one after another. There were some casualties, but they weren't serious. Although those knights attacked without reason, they were primarily focused on subjugating us, not taking our lives. They displayed a strong sense of chivalry. Back at the camp, the members took charge of taking care of the returning members. It wasn't a complicated matter. By the time I returned, the sky was gradually darkening, and everything was relatively good. Afterward, I quietly made my way to the 2nd floor of the main camp, where Lin Feng Crane was. I entered and found her still inside. Then, I saw the woman and said, Miss Lin Feng, how is the follow-up going? Hearing this, Lin Feng, who was perched on the windowsill, looked at me and said, it should be going smoothly. We've forwarded the Earl's quotations and the situation at the scene through various channels to the Holy Water Spirit Academy, the Silver Academy, and other higher-ups. I see. With this, The first area can no longer control the power they once did, then our opportunity should have arrived, I said. That's right. We should be able to gain further momentum later, but that key individual hasn't taken any action yet, Lin Feng said. Prun, we'll have to wait and see what happens next. It's too early to jump to conclusions, really? Could you help me find the other sister? I added. I know. That's progressing. Prun Ains and the key to the plan haven't been found yet. After a brief conversation, we concluded and left. Nothing's settled yet, but on paper, it seems we're gaining momentum. The next day, in the Academy District, the 8th District, Shangxiling Academy, received secret intelligence the previous evening regarding student Li Shuhua, the 1st District Guards, and the Earl, who had caused the disturbance near the Green Alliance branch the previous afternoon. The Earl's words and the footage from the incident had been recorded as evidence. Not only did this information reach multiple high-level organizations last night, but it was also posted online, going viral overnight. What? You actually took my words? Who would believe such nonsense? Besides, we can just eliminate you all here, there won't be any evidence left. This statement particularly caught the public's attention, as it came from the Earl of the 1st District. Many debated whether it was the Earl's words, but regardless. That night, unrest had begun to build in the 1st District. Chapter 263 Turning Point. Due to the leaked news, discussions began to ignite within the sacred central city of Region 1. The discussion focused not only on what had happened that afternoon, but also on the 2 students who had been abducted from Holy Water Spirit Academy and Silver Academy. The rumor, after verification, was confirmed to be true, which fueled the discussion. The evidence regarding what had happened that day was irrefutable, and the scene had been investigated by senior officials from the New Century capital. This incident had indeed occurred. With this in mind, Holy Water Spirit Academy and Silver Academy had more room for negotiation. The 1st Region's commander should make a swift decision on whether to return the abducted students. Otherwise, the Academy could also take appropriate action on its own initiative. Treat this as a special mission. Today, Monday, within Holy Water Spirit Academy, Jin Jiuhu and others, who were familiar with the intelligence, were in a data room conducting a detailed analysis of the incident. Jin Jiuhu had received the latest news and intelligence from Li Xingze, confirming that Li Shuhua, a student at the academy, was indeed safe. She was currently in the same place as Li Xingze. This was the intelligence Jin Jiuhu had gathered regarding the events of that afternoon. Furthermore, the leadership of the Holy Water Spirit Academy had already begun investigating the actions in the 1st area. The latest information, coupled with their recent coercive tactics, had attracted the attention not only of a major organization within the academy, but also of many external organizations. Right now, Shuho has been rescued by Xingze, and we are temporarily relieved. However, his other sister is still missing. As for the 1st area, the top leaders there seem to be planning something. Judging from the information we have obtained so far, they seem to be planning a big plan. Shuho and Lanai are very likely to be part of the plan, Qianjiuhu said. Really? It's good that Shuho was rescued, but what do they want to do? Even if they want to use those 2 people, it seems that they don't dare to make any big moves. After all, it has become the current situation, D. Rebo said. Judging from the current situation, it is only a matter of time to find Li Lanai. Lin Qin said. Well, this looks like it is developing in a direction that is beneficial to us, but according to internal investigations, there is still not much reaction from the 1st area, Qianjiuhu said again. What does this mean? In other words, what is happening right now is not a big impact on them, Qin Liang said at this time. Just like you said, from an ordinary perspective, the other party should be very panicked in this situation, but we should also consider more different possibilities. For example, the commander of the 1st area is behind this incident. If he does not hesitate to sacrifice his current power and wants to do something, Jin Jiuhu said, that might be some troublesome things, Qin Liang said. Then, if we want to get involved in that matter, the best way at the moment is to go to the 1st area and investigate the commander of the 1st area, Pulin Ains. Lin Qin said. Well, that's a very appropriate judgment. Shuho has been rescued now. The choice we have to make before that should be whether to continue to delve into this incident, right? D. Rebo asked. You're right, Jin Jiuhu said. Then, continue investigating. At least in my opinion, we can't just stop because we rescued Shuho. If your purpose is just this, I won't say anything, but I will go to the end. I have already promised before that, Not only Li Lanyu who has not been found, but also Xingze and others will continue to complete this strange task, Qin Liang said. Really? Now that you say that, of course I choose to continue, Di Rebo said. Me too, Lin Qin said. No need to ask, you are so united. Of course I will not continue to stay in this academy to attend classes, the red-haired man, Lin Hongguang, who had been listening occasionally at the side, said. Is it unanimously agreed? Afterwards, we will discuss it with the upper echelons of the academy. According to the situation, there is still a great possibility that we will sneak into the first area, Jin Jiuhe said. At this time, Jin Jiuhe stood up and said, I'll go first. This task is also under investigation by people including me in the academy. It is very likely that it will be the afternoon or tomorrow when you will be dispatched. After speaking, Jin Jiuhe left for the door. On the way, Qin Liang asked, Jin Jiuhe, do you also want to go to the first area? Hearing this, Jin Jiu stopped, turned back and nodded and said, well, I will go this time too. After speaking, she left the room. The buildings in the first area are different from the many tall buildings and skyscrapers in other areas. There are many religious places dedicated to Confucianism and Taoism here, and the overall style of the area is relatively simple. In the center, a tall building next to a church is the administrator's residence. Currently, on the second floor of the building, Earl John Hanks is conversing with another person. What a foolish mistake, John, said a man in a blue hat. I'm so sorry, but those guys came prepared and were so thorough. I didn't expect that, John bowed his head slightly. Besides, even those knights couldn't be dealt with. Who exactly is that man? John added. That's something you should have thought of, but you've already failed. The white knights are useless now. John, your next task is to keep a close eye on that other student, Li Lanyu. It shouldn't be that difficult, right? Said a man in his early 40s with a blue hat. That's right, Mr. Hawk, John nodded slightly. Then go ahead. This is a crucial time. No mistakes can be made, Hawk said. I understand. With that, John left the room and headed out of the building. On the 7th floor, Paulin Ains was sitting on a sofa in the lobby, sipping tea. After a while, the private phone next to him rang. Poulin noticed a teacup and reached out to answer the phone. Mr. Poulin, are you there? A voice came from the other end. It was someone Poulin knew, a man named Zhu Feng. Yes, it's me, Zhu Feng. I want to talk to you about something. I'm sure you understand it. It's about the incident yesterday afternoon. Isn't that a bit bad? Dr. Zhu Feng said. It's just as you said. If that incident spreads, it's not good for me, but so what? You seem to be doing something big recently. It's about the ruins, right? I don't care much about those, but if your position is shaken, the production of those new machines will come to a halt. That's really worrying, Doctor. Is research interesting? In that case, it would be better for you to inherit the next father of the machine, Poulin said. What? Don't be joking. Look at you. You look calm. Are you okay? They are calling you to return the students, but the answer you gave was that, it's okay. There's nothing to worry about. I will handle those problems, Poulin said. Really? Then just consider it as me being nosy. I'll see what happens next and contact you later, Dr. Zhu Feng said. That's all. With those words, the communication between the two ended. Following calls from the outside world, the first district has provided further information regarding the incident that afternoon. This morning, the first district responded that Li Lanyu, the student who had not yet been returned to the Holy Silver Academy, was abducted while en route. Similar to the incident that afternoon, she was abducted by unknown individuals at approximately the same time. It's speculated that someone connected to Li Lanyu might have taken her, and it's possible that she was taken by her brother, Li Xingze. Deputy District Supervisor Hawk of the 1st District reached this conclusion. While this is undoubtedly a difficult fact to accept, the 1st District has provided an explanation. The 1st District enjoys a good environment and a good reputation, and despite the incident, its credibility has not been tarnished. All of this will require a definitive conclusion once the truth is established. Currently, the Academy is actively investigating, and heated discussions are ongoing. After the response from the first area spread widely, the leadership of the Holy Water Spirit Academy requested permission to travel to the first area to investigate the truth. After all, with students abducted and missing, they could no longer wait. Therefore, they submitted a request to the higher-ups in the central domain city. There was no reason to deny this request. After negotiations between the higher-ups at the Holy Water Spirit Academy, the application was approved. As expected, they couldn't continue to conceal the situation, as it would be too suspicious and could also raise concerns with the royal city. Xingze's success was also within her expectations. She assumed it would happen this afternoon or tomorrow. The students had anticipated this and made preparations. The next step was to travel to the Holy Central Domain City in the first area. The list of candidates included Qin Lang, Di Ribo, Lin Qin, Lin Hongguang, Xingze, and several potential candidates. The list was quickly submitted to the higher-ups for review. Besides the list provided by Xingze, there were also other candidates for the next trip to the first area. The bespectacled man, He Duoxi, was one of the individuals responsible for handling this matter. Currently, multiple investigations are underway in Area 1, but it's not impossible for the individuals on that list to go there for reconnaissance. After all, it was Xingze's choice, and there are several people on that list who can take the lead. So, there's no problem. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264. Where to go next? Near the end of the afternoon, following instructions from higher-ups, the students on the list were directed to the intelligence room on the 10th floor. They were briefed on the mission and asked if they were willing to carry out the mission, along with the relevant requirements later. After school, Xingze needed to go to the other end of the circular building on the 2nd floor, heading towards the information room, to retrieve some documents. It was already after school, and the students had gradually left. In the cold, silent corridor, at a corner, a young woman with crimson hair emerged, heading further down the hallway. Xingze observed this scene. The crimson-haired girl was Guanling, and Xingze could easily identify her from behind. She was one of the people Xingze had tasked Xingze with finding, and now, suddenly, she appeared before her eyes. What was she doing? Why had she returned? For a moment, Xingze greeted the red-haired girl in front of her, Miss Guanling. Upon hearing this, she slowly turned her head and saw the long black-haired girl behind her, Xingze, and said, "You are Xingze, the mystery." The girl behind that incident, Guanling, forgotten by most, is actually a crucial figure in this incident. Few people know this. In the evening, within the caverns of the Green Alliance's secret base, Shuho and I were reunited peacefully. Thanks to my sister's arrival, the wounded were quickly healed. Furthermore, the latest developments in Central City have yielded some new information based on our investigation. Someone has already begun moving, heading in the distance. A certain cargo loaded into the machine might be something important. What it is remains unconfirmed, but one hypothesis cannot be ruled out: it could be my other sister, Li Lanyu. Regarding the response from Central City this morning, it was truly perfunctory. It seemed to me like they were stalling for time. It might be hard for others to see, but they might have been planning something during this time. This is the key point: we can't definitively conclude anything at this point. After that, another surprising piece of information leaked from Holy Water Spirit Academy. It concerns another woman I've been in contact with, Xingze. Our investigations indicate she's been attacked and is currently recuperating in a nearby hospital. Xingze was attacked, and the attacker's whereabouts remain unconfirmed. This momentarily fills me with a sense of guilt. Perhaps it's because of me that she was discovered and implicated. But that might be the key point. I really want to visit her and ask her what happened. I'm sitting on the sofa in my room, pondering all this. Shuho, who was standing beside me, saw me lost in thought and said, "Brother, why don't we go back to Holy Water Spirit Academy? I have healing abilities. I heard Xingze's injuries are not minor. Isn't it necessary for us to go see her?" Hearing this, I thought Xingze's words were indeed very reasonable. It would be a shame not to go. While going there would be somewhat troublesome under the current circumstances, it wouldn't prevent me from going. With the turmoil in Central Domain City right now, it would be much easier to do anything. I see. Let's go see her tomorrow, I said. Okay, brother, Shuho replied with a chuckle. Afterward, we had dinner. Shuho and I cooked together today. At 10 o'clock in the evening, another call came in. It was the latest information about my sister. Central Domain City had established internal communication with us, and through the liaison personnel of the Green Alliance branch, they relayed the latest information. Li Xingze's sister, Li Lanyu, has been taken to the North District, Area 48. The meeting place is tomorrow at 2 p.m. The exact location will be provided on the map later. Li Xingze, please keep your appointment on time, or you'll face the consequences. Your sister will. With this information, I lost even the mood to eat. After that, I headed straight to the main camp and spoke with Commander Lin Feng in a room deep in the second-floor corridor. We discussed the intelligence regarding Li Lanyu. As for its authenticity, since it came from the Green Alliance branch through an insider, who had spies in Central City, it's not impossible that they were using this method to privately share information about Li Lanyu. Rather, it's highly likely to be true. Tomorrow's appointment is probably an important step, Xingze. You must be feeling very complicated now. That is an obvious trap, Ling Feng said. So, what do you think? I asked. In my personal opinion, it is better for you not to go, but what do you think? Can you accept it? Lin Feng looked at me with an understanding look. No, I want to go. It is impossible not to go. My sister is in danger. Sure enough, this is a trap to lure you away. You don't understand what is waiting for you ahead. The 48th area is very remote, and it is almost a place where we have no spies. It is a bit late to send investigators now. There is no time. Even so, don't go, Li Xingze, this is my request. Wang, you still have an important mission, and you shouldn't do this. Ling Feng rarely got up from his chair at this time, came to me, bowed to me and said, seeing her sincerity, I reached out and gently lifted her up, saying, Lin Feng Ein Crane, I admire your wisdom. Your words will surely bring hope and victory here. Therefore, King, this role is not mine, but yours. Li Xingze, don't be like this. You possess the key and are chosen by it. Of all people, you are the most qualified to rule. Ling Feng, the beautiful woman, now supported by me, bowed her head slightly and pleaded with me. In that case, you are my chosen successor, Lin Feng Ein Crane. Do you not trust my judgment? I said. No, you have a different understanding than mine. Yes, I am the executor now, and you are the one issuing the orders, I said. Then please stay tomorrow, Ling Feng pleaded. That's the only thing I cannot agree to. It's my decision, Lin Feng Ein Crane. I trust you. If you were the one, you would definitely make the best choice, I replied. By the time I finished speaking, we both understood each other. This was the end. I understand, Xingze. Please make the best judgment tomorrow. I will also work hard on this, okay? I patted her shoulder and then walked out of the room. Chapter 265 Action. Then, I returned to my room, and when I encountered the splash, she could see through her observation that I was confused about what to do next. In the hall, Shuho poured a glass of water and came to me, placed it on the table, and then said, Brother, how is the situation, that is, about the trip to the vicinity of the Holy Water Spirit College tomorrow? I can't go. I'm sorry, I said. Really? Why? Shuho asked. Something important suddenly happened tomorrow. It may be related to Lan Yu's safety, so I have to go somewhere else and don't have time, I replied. Is that so? But brother, it's okay. If you can't go, I'll go in your place, Shuho said. At this time, I picked up the water cup and took a sip of water, and then I heard Shuho's words, so I put down the water cup and said, Shuho, although we are going to the vicinity of the Holy Water Spirit College, there is still a certain degree of risk. Brother, this is my obligation to perform on your behalf. I have no reason not to go, Shuho said. It's okay, brother. I've been arrested many times. I won't be arrested this time. I've become smarter, Shuho said. Really? I understand what you mean. I'll leave it to you tomorrow. Please ask 1 or 2 guards to take you there, I said. Thank you, Shuho chuckled softly. I reached out and stroked her naturally smiling face. After gently stroking her head, I stood up and headed for my room. I have things to do tomorrow, so go to bed early, I said, heading for my room. Understood, Shuho replied. Then we each went to bed. In the silent darkness, each of us pondered our own thoughts. The next morning, Shuho, escorted by Zhou Qing and the brunette Chen Xianguang, boarded a mobile suit and headed towards the Holy Water Spirit Academy. This was a decision made by headquarters, and I had no objection. I, myself, would soon be preparing to depart for Area 48, located on the edge of the new Century City, a region of steel buildings. It was indeed a new area still under development, and there was still room for expansion in this new Century City elsewhere. At 8:40 a.m., the first area investigation team, led by Qin Liang and Lin Qin, was about to dispatch. Due to the attack last night, Xingze was unable to participate as planned, but they had received new support. However, due to work commitments, the new reinforcements will be delayed for some time before they can join them in the investigation mission for Area 1. At this moment, on the rooftop bungalow of the circular building of Xingze Academy, Qin Liang, Lin Qin, Di Ribo, and the other four were already waiting in the rooftop room, ready to depart. A moment later, on the other side of the group, from the west entrance, several students approached. They spotted several seniors waiting ahead, and one of them, Yuzayanan, greeted them. "Good morning, seniors. We're joining this mission together today. Thank you for your guidance." Yuzayanan chuckled and waved to the seniors in front of him. Hearing this, Qin Liang, standing on the other side, turned to look in the direction of the three people and said, "You are from the first-year elemental class. The three of you are, yes, you are Senior Xingze's disciples, so we are here to help." "We have the permission of the academy," Yuzayanan replied. "Really? With your help, our efficiency will be improved. You can replace the member who can't come right now, Xingze. Thank you very much for your praise. Let's cooperate." With these words, the number of people heading to Central Domain City increased to 7. Everyone waited for the arrival of the teacher who was in charge and authorized the deployment of the Mecha. But it's really slow. The person in charge hasn't come yet. "We've been waiting for a while," the red-haired man said. "Don't worry, he should be here soon," Qin Liang said. At this time, Yuzayanan couldn't help but be attracted by this topic. Yuzayanan said, "Speaking of which, the person in charge should be teachers Shi and Fen, right? It seems that they didn't come with us because of something on the way." Hearing this, Pingman said, "That's right. It seems that the class has encountered some problems, but they should be here soon. After all, we are all gathered here." After a while, a female person in charge walked towards this side. That person was not the teacher known to Yuzayanan and others, but someone else. "Everyone, because the person in charge is still investigating some matters, I'll be granting permission for your units to start," the bespectacled young woman said apologetically. "I see. No problem. We're ready to depart. Please grant us permission to start our units," Qin Liang said to the woman. "Understood." With that, the woman in charge of the unit's operations began inspecting the units in the skylight. After a moment's inspection, she said, "There are 5 units to be activated. All 5 are in good condition. Are there any other issues?" The woman gestured to the several nature-type mechas parked in a row, standing by, and said, "No issues." These 5 units were Qin Liang's personal unit, Lin Qin's dark blue unit, Di Ribo's green sky-type unit, the red-haired Lin Hongguang's sky-type unit, and Yuzayanan, Lin Pingman, and Yufan's combined unit. After confirming everything, everyone boarded their units and prepared to start their journey. Targeting the central city of the first sector, in the direction of the Xianyuan Tower. Special instructions have been entered into the Mecha, allowing entry into the first sector. The instructions have been transmitted. "Any questions?" the woman said. Everyone responded in unison. "Then please proceed to the eastern sky tunnel and prepare to depart in order," the woman said. The white and blue Mecha, led by Qin Liang, then took off, following the route and heading towards the designated sky tunnel. Immediately, the following 4 mechas followed suit. The last 2, the red-haired man's Mecha and those piloted by Yuzayanan and the others, were not as skilled as the first 3. However, they had mastered the piloting techniques thoroughly, at least possessing the mark of a veteran. Immediately, 5 naturally shaped mechas of varying colors headed east, heading towards the central city of the first sector. The next target was the Xianyuan Tower. The mission involved surveillance of the highest levels of the first sector, something everyone was familiar with. They then set off towards that location. Chapter 266 Action. I waited in the morning, as the commander had instructed. It was 10 o'clock, and there had been no significant activity. Then, it was time to head to Area 48. According to the schedule, this was the best time to embark on the journey to Area 48, so at 10 o'clock sharp, I decided to board my mech and set off for the undeveloped area of steel buildings. After explaining everything to Lin Feng and Crane at the base and bidding farewell to the other members, I boarded my mech and departed from the rear entrance at Holy Water Spirit Academy, the women's classroom, who had been tasked with escorting the Miss Xingze to Area 1, encountered a minor problem on the way. Students were absent from class, which wasn't unusual. It was a common occurrence in every school. However, the student who was absent was Yuanzai Oshi, a student in the elements class. He was a rather low-key person, lacking much interest in other things. That was a sufficient reason for him to avoid school. After all, many people in this world have talents that go beyond academics. However, he belongs to the element class. Speaking of the element class, he's noticeably different from other students. He doesn't have a normal family. Recently, the element class began to exchange cultures with a new century capital, and students from the element class have been transferred here. Among them, a young man named Yuanzai Oshi has been missing since yesterday afternoon. Not only can the academy find him, but he's also nowhere to be found at his dorm, and his phone is unreachable. As if he's been missing since that afternoon, Shi Yufan, the homeroom teacher, has taken the initiative to intervene, ordering higher-ups to control surveillance cameras to search for him. Meanwhile, the academy is already investigating the attack on Chikuka, and now they're also investigating Yuanzai Oshi. From the perspective of Shi Yufan, a student in the women's classroom, these two events seem inextricably linked. Chikuka was attacked after school yesterday, and Yuanzai Oshi left around the same time. It's easy to connect the dots. So, what happened between the boy and Chikuka? Xingze Yuhu is currently in a coma and unable to speak. However, it's speculated that Yuanzai Oshi and Xingze Yuhu have no connection, nothing in common. Therefore, there must be a third factor between them, and that third factor is likely the key to the situation. It might even be related to the recent changes in Central City. Therefore, Shi and Fen chose to remain in the intelligence room, contacting higher-ups to jointly explore and search for clues related to the two individuals. In the first area, the center of Central City, next to the tall building, there is a church. Within the dimly lit chapel, Pulin Ains, in his capacity as a priest, is praying today. Lord, look down from heaven upon me, a fallen sinner, hopeless, without heart or wisdom. I pray only to you. Do not be silent to me. I am like one eternally lost, unable to escape the sea of suffering. I confess all my sins before you. Please purify our souls, protect us from the path of sin, and allow us to dwell in eternal bliss. Pulin gently grasped the cross as he finished his prayer. He slowly closed his eyes, and the ceremony concluded. Afterward, Pulin walked to the side of the church. On his way, many believers watched him, and one approached him, asking, Mr. Pulin, why did what happened in Central City just now? What's the reason? Do you know? This was a question many people wanted to know. Surrounded by a crowd, Pulin said, Don't worry. God has arranged everything. There's no need to ask questions. We just need to wait quietly in this church. Is it really okay? A woman asked. Of course, do you doubt God? No such thing. With these words, Pulin quietly left through the other passage. As he left, a faint smile played on his lips, a sinister one. He smiled for no apparent reason, like the turmoil in his heart. Pulin was not a priest, nor a ruler, but simply someone who wanted to fulfill a long-cherished wish. They were truly innocent and lovely people. The longing for redemption, a feeling deep within the human heart, is a difficult task, requiring effort. In a land of confusion and darkness, salvation is uncertain. Will God point the way to truth for the lost sheep? It's unclear when that will be, so it must be done quickly, or is it better to become God and personally redeem them? Become that almighty being in Central City. Qin Lang, Lin Qin, Di Ribo, and others lingered near the towering Xianning Tower and the church. They had recently contacted the higher-ups at the Holy Water Spirit Academy and were currently observing officials within the Xianning Tower, including key figures such as Pure Nanes. Qin Lang and his team were stationed at several hidden locations near the Xianning Tower, monitoring the building. While Qin Lang and his team weren't entirely comfortable with the task, they were no newcomers and possessed some skills. Furthermore, the stakes were high, and no carelessness was necessary. They had arrived at their target location at 9:40 a.m. and were on standby. Along the way, they spotted the main figure, Pulin Ains, heading to a church near the Xianning Tower. Other than that, only a few people who looked like subordinates had been seen entering and leaving the Xianning Tower. By 10:45 a.m., there was no sign of Pulin, and multiple checks from multiple locations had yielded no new information. It seemed as if a ritual had taken place inside the church, which would likely take some time. However, with the recent unrest in Area 1, he wouldn't have that much time, would he? Of course, that was all speculation. Pulin might be a man of faith, which is why he'd be there at this time. Around 11:15 a.m., people began to emerge from both the front and back entrances of the church. The ritual had probably concluded, and it was time for everyone to leave. This was a time to be especially vigilant. Pulin might be among the crowd, and especially watch out for anyone special. Among the group, Qin Liang, Diribo, and Lin Qin possessed strong sensory abilities, and they were also sensitive to certain types of people. Diribo's original spirit is similar to a psychic, capable of detecting the inner ripples of some people. He can easily sense who has a specific type of person. Normal people have different inner ripples than those who possess original stones or other special abilities. While not as strong as Xingze Uhua, Diribo possesses some degree of this ability. 7 people in total, stationed at various locations within Xianning Tower, observing the surrounding situation. Suspicious individuals are currently difficult to detect, but the key to the mission is to not let Pulin leave the area. If he leaves, he must be tracked and his whereabouts monitored at all times. A moment later, another woman with short, medium-length hair quietly approached from the other side. She wore dark yellow goggles and approached Qin Liang. She was indeed Hua Qian, one of the special teachers on the upper level. "Teacher Hua Qian," Qin Liang said. "Yes, it's me. Sorry for being late," Hua Qian said. Since she was also joining the mission, she was dressed differently from her usual academy attire, casual attire. "No, it's just the beginning. We're observing the situation in the church over there," Qin Liang responded. "I know that man should have entered the church," Hua Qian said. Although she arrived a little later than the other 7, her intelligence network was not simple. As they continued their observation, more or less people left the church, but so far, they had also spotted Pulin on the other side of the church, the passage connected to the hidden route leading to Xianning Tower. In the underground tunnel there, Pulin was communicating with the others. "How's the situation? Did that student make it?" Pulin asked. On the other end of the line was Hawk, who was currently somewhere in Area 48. He responded, "Well, I just saw him and the blue machine in Area 52 through the surveillance camera. They're heading this way. I can't confirm it yet, but it's probably correct. Is it possible it's a fake? No, it's genuine. We have multiple sensory personnel here, and we've confirmed it multiple times. At his current speed, he'll probably reach Area 48 after midnight, around 1300 hours, Hawk said. Really? Then I'll leave it to you, Pulin said. No problem. I've made every possible preparation for today, Hawk replied. Then Pulin hung up. After confirming everything, it was almost time for him to act near Xianning Tower and the church. Qin Liang, Hua Qian, and the others continued their observations, each scattered at various points, observing from multiple angles. To the east stood Yu Xian and Yu Fan, to the south stood Lin Pingman and the red-haired man, and to the north, in the attic of a tall building, stood Di Ribo. Qin Liang and Hua Qian paused near the main entrance. A moment later, a man with long blue hair, 2/3 of it cascading down his back, and a thin fringe of bangs cascading down his forehead, emerged from the church. Although male, his hair was tied with red strings on either side of his face, and his bangs were also tied with symmetrical red strings at the back of his head. He looked a bit strange. That person, unwittingly, he had caught someone's attention. Chapter 267 Action. The blue-haired man initially puzzled Qin Liang. His appearance was a bit strange, not like someone entering a church, but his attire was reasonable. Qin Liang's suspicions remained superficial. A deeper level of suspicion, however, simply gave him a sense of peculiarity. Hua Qian, standing beside him, possessed remarkable insight, and immediately understood that this man was no ordinary person. Qin Liang, that man is suspicious. He might be a key figure there. We must keep an eye on him, Hua Qian said. Qin Liang nodded slightly and said softly, a person with special abilities, yes, let's follow him. He may appear ordinary as he walks down the street, but he's definitely not ordinary. My instinct is, we can't lose him, Hua Qian said. With that, the two of them slowly followed the man from the small harbor of a nearby building, silently following him. Elsewhere, Di Ribo, in the attic of a building, had also noticed something. What first struck him about the blue-haired man was not his appearance, but the ripples within him. The frequency of those ripples was unique, not something an ordinary person could produce. Silent yet mysteriously diffuse. In some ways, he bore a resemblance to the man they had seen earlier, Pulin. Therefore, it was highly likely that the man was related to Pulin. Diaribo quickly announced via the communicator, "That blue-haired man is extremely suspicious. Please have a few people follow him." Qin Liang replied, "Huaqian and I have already begun tailing the target, I'll go too." "I sense a unique scent on him," Lin Qin said. "Really? 3 of us? Then, we'll do it. The 5 of us will remain on standby nearby. Please keep in touch if there are any changes," Diaribo agreed. "Understood," everyone agreed. Qin Liang, Huaqian, and Lin Qin followed the blue-haired man from different locations. The street was crowded today, many of them drawn to the recent changes in Area 1. The place was usually quiet, but now it was punctuated by frequent discussions about the scandal in Area 1, which had yet to be resolved. Key figures within Cheyenne Tower, Mr. Pulin, as well as Hawk and several other personnel, were among the key figures in the discussion. Hawk's latest intel, rumors that the abducted female student was taken by a third party, has sparked heated discussion and even skepticism. Many of these skeptics are beginning to suspect the central city's upper echelons, wondering what they are up to. Several organizations have already begun covert investigations. A man in a white coat, with long blue hair tied in 4 red braids, stands out among the crowd. Most people here dress simply, with only a few sporting unconventional looks. This could be due to a particular religion, as there are numerous religions here, at least 5. Besides his hair, a closer look reveals the man's hands are also tied with 5 colored knots, each on each fingertip, resembling a diamond knot. Qin Liang, Huaqian, and the others are currently following the man, desperate to understand his next move. There's a good chance they might hold clues. The blue-haired man continued walking down the street until he passed it and reached the intersection on the other side. There, he stopped and, looking at the passing cars, hailed a taxi and climbed into the back seat. The taxi immediately sped along the road. Qin Liang, who had confirmed the situation on the way, asked, "What should we do? Should we catch up with him?" "Yes. I'll go after that man. We've got his appearance now. Next, we just need to activate the surveillance system. You 2 aren't suited to tracking, so go ahead and pilot the Mecha. I'll give you a signal later," Huaqian said. Hearing this, Qin Liang said, "Is that so? I understand. Please, Teacher Huaqian." "Got it," Lin Qin replied. With that, Lin Qin and Qin Liang headed to the Mecha Park on the other side, while Huaqian locked onto the target's location with her ability and then followed along the side. She was also a user with an ability, possessing a primordial spirit, a sky-shaped form in the 8th area. At the hospital near Mecha Academy, one of the abducted girls, Li Shuhua, entered the hospital. She was accompanied by 2 women, Zhou Qing and Shen Xianguang. After confirming Jin Jiuhua's hospital ward, they accompanied her to the door and then left without disturbing her. They entered the quiet single room where Jin Jiuhua lay, lying on a white bed. A white bandage covered half her face, including her hands. She was asleep, and her heart rate monitor was visible nearby. It was relatively stable. According to the doctor, Jin Jiuhua's injuries resembled a sudden accident, likely caused by someone, but it was unclear who had caused them, or whether it was a surprise attack. Perhaps Jin Jiuhua knew something, leading to her death. She was a key figure in handling intelligence. Regardless of all that, Li Shuhua approached Jin Jiuhua and gazed at her. After all, Jiuhua had likely suffered such harm because of her, so she felt obligated to meet her and apologize. Soon, Shuhua slowly extended her hands, emitting a faint golden light from her palms, which shone upon the black-haired girl. The soft glow bathed the girl, and beneath the light, Jin Jiuhua's injuries began to heal. After a moment, Shuhua could sense that most of Jiuhua's wounds had healed. The remaining problem lay in her internal healing, something she would have to work on herself. Shuhua's ability could heal any disease, but it didn't guarantee the restoration of a depleted water source. It could at least provide a supporting effect. After a moment, Jin Jiuhua gradually moved her fingers, slowly opening her eyes, and her first sight was the girl beside her. Shuhua, hearing this, Shuhua nodded slightly. "Are you okay?" Chikyuhua said again. "Yes, that's great, but why am I here?" Chikyuhua suddenly questioned. "Chikyuhua, I'd like to know, too. It seems you were attacked a while ago and ended up in the hospital. What happened that afternoon? Shuho asked. I was attacked. Chikuho pondered this, searching her memory of that day. Some of it seemed a little incomplete, especially that afternoon. She had indeed gone there after school. But then, Chikuho's eyes flickered, as if a thought had occurred to her. A slight headache arose, and she clutched her head. Are you okay, Chikuho? No. I'm fine. My memory is a little hazy, but it's no problem. I'll remember it soon. I have special abilities. Even if you try to erase my memory, it's useless. Chikuho gradually recovered, slowly lowering her hand. Really? Give me a little more time. I know, Chikuho. Don't worry. Take your time. With these words, the two of them gradually fell silent. A black sedan, with a blue-haired man inside, headed southeast, passing through Area 5, then Area 7, and Area 11. Judging from its direction and based on the map, the black sedan was likely heading towards Area 32. This was the assessment from headquarters, relayed to Huaqian and the others. Upon closer inspection, the black sedan didn't look like an ordinary taxi, but rather a special-purpose vehicle. This meant the man had a specific destination in mind. Where that destination was, however, remained unknown. The blue-haired man, now inside the black sedan, slowly glanced out the window. He could sense that several people were tracking him. After all, even if one's appearance made one feel unpredictable, it didn't make one drop their guard. These were the times. Boss, where are we going next? We've been followed, right? The man in the black suit and sunglasses, driving ahead, said. We're headed straight ahead, to the outer reaches of the new Century City. Just take me to the edge of the outer realm, the blue-haired man said. Got it. Footsteps followed from the sky and the ground, like birds in the air and dogs on the ground. There were countless beings, mechas and cars alike, now so numerous in the sky and on the ground that identifying them was difficult. Perhaps that was their method of concealment. It was 12:35 p.m., and the black sedan was still heading southeast. It was definitely heading towards Area 32, but that was indeed the site of a recent scandal and also served as a backdoor entrance to the new Century City. It was unclear where the man was going, so they had to follow closely. Everyone shared this conclusion. Meanwhile, those near Shining Tower continued to observe. So far, nothing unusual had occurred. The situation was still unfolding. But at this moment, deep underground in the first area, a pure, strong and powerful source of energy is being released slightly, and the signs of disaster are emerging. Chapter 268 Action. Around 1 p.m., I piloted my Mecha to Area 48. This completely undeveloped area is mostly under construction. Numerous construction sites can be seen along the roads. I've arrived at the rendezvous point. According to the map they provided, it's still some distance from the center. The rendezvous time is 2 p.m., so I still have nearly an hour to search. Of course, that wasn't my plan. This meeting was most likely a trap. I arrived to deal with a special situation. I hoped to find my sister's whereabouts as soon as possible. Therefore, I began searching for her presence. I was familiar with her presence, having seen her so often. Immediately, I released a subtle energy aura from the center of Area 48. It instantly enveloped the area, and I immediately located my sister's location. A faint presence was present in the southeast. It was Lilanayu. It was likely that she had used some method to mask the energy source she was emitting, or perhaps it had been sealed. In short, I've discovered that the target location is indeed close to the rendezvous point described on the map, but there's still some distance. This should prove that those people have indeed set a trap. Of course, I didn't intend to go to the designated rendezvous point, but headed directly towards where my sister Lan Yu was. Instantly, the blue machine, Azure Heart, headed southeast, along a remote, abandoned construction site. It's near the edge of Area 48, with the outer realm to the side. Beyond that, a grove of trees would have reached the new Century City's boundaries in the past, but the city currently seems to be expanding into new areas. After all, there's still a lot of unused land. Of course, excessive development isn't a good thing, as those in the upper echelons should understand. For now, my only priority is meeting my sister. Everything else is set aside for now. In a short moment, the blue light quickly approached the abandoned construction site, immediately bypassing the massive wall marked under construction and approaching its interior. Instantly, the enemy scouts confirmed the arrival of the blue machine. Its arrival at an unexpected speed sent them into panic, and they urgently reported to their superiors. By then, my machine had already stopped in an open space outside the abandoned construction site and immediately landed. I could sense my sister was not far away, deep within the abandoned site, so I chose to stop the machine there. Immediately, several people from various parts of the construction site approached my machine. I immediately emerged from the machine and leaped onto the ground. Groups of men, resembling workers wearing construction hats, gradually approached me. One of them, a bald man who looked like a foreman, approached me and said, "Hey, young man, we're currently working on something. What are you doing here? Parking your machine here is really bothering us." The bald man, who looked to be in his early 40s and was wearing construction uniform, said this. Several nearby workers echoed the foreman's words, saying, "That's right, please leave." Such words kept coming into my ears, and then I said, "Big brother, may I ask who you are?" Hearing this, the bald man replied, "Can't you tell from the clothes I wear in a place like this? I'm a worker, but the leader of these people." "I see, you're lying. The clothes you wore underneath look quite new," I said. As I spoke, the bald man couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat and said, "It's not like that. I'm just in a hurry today and forgot to change clothes." "You're wearing clothes with a logo of the 1st Region Army underneath your coat," I said. Hearing this, the bald man couldn't help but look at his clothes, and found that they were not exposed in front of him at all. He immediately said calmly from his panic, "No way, don't joke, you can't fool me." As I spoke, I immediately waved my hand and turned over his coat, and the pair of spears and the lion emblem appeared before my eyes. "Tell me, why did you lure me here?" I said. At this time, the bald man seemed to have nothing to hide. He scratched his head disdainfully and then said, "Nothing. Aren't you looking for your sister? Go to the agreed place. What are you doing here? Aren't you worried about what will happen to my sister? My sister is here. You still want to hide it from me," I said. "Eh, how do you know? Do you want to know?" "I am a god," I said casually. "You bastard, you just got the key, don't be arrogant." The bald man suddenly became angry, and his eyes showed a hint of red light. The flames immediately covered me and enveloped me. In an instant, my figure slowly disappeared in the red flames, and appeared behind the bald man in the blink of an eye. I glanced over at him. "At this point, it's best to go home and get some sleep, bastard." "Kill him," the bald man shouted. Immediately, the 7 or 8 men accompanying him stripped off their outer construction uniforms and drew their weapons, pistols, clubs, knives, to attack me. Instantly, I transformed into a black sword, its edge gleaming with a cyan-orange glow. With a single horizontal slash, the 7 or 8 men who had been about to attack me or launch a ranged attack were sent flying by the force of my powerful horizontal blow. Some weapons fell, others were struck before they could strike. Almost no one had a chance to reach me or inflict any damage. I ignored them and headed towards the abandoned factory inside the construction site. The construction signs outside were probably a deceptive decoration. I knew everything now, and I headed inside. My sister was inside the factory. I walked step by step into the factory. A moment later, a man in a dignified purple coat and another in a more elegant brown coat slowly approached from the side of the dimly lit factory. I'd met the man in the red cape and brown coat not long ago. He was Count John Hanks. The other man with purple hair, though this was our first meeting, had seen his appearance on television. He was Hawk, the deputy supervisor of Area 1. "Lee Xingze, it's been a few days since we last met. You're still as sassy as ever. But today we're here to negotiate," John said upon seeing me. His attitude seemed much more relaxed this time than our previous meeting. But I couldn't understand what was driving that. "What's there to negotiate? I just wanted to greet my sister." Did you heard him? Chapter 269 Action. Upon hearing this, the purple-haired man, Hawk, replied, "Of course not. We're gentlemen, for now." "That's right," John agreed. What they said didn't sound false. Then I said, "Since you've arranged for me to come here, you should have arranged for me to meet my sister, right?" "Of course, Lee Xingze. As I have mentioned more than once, the king in the royal city would love to see you. So, when we return your sister, why don't you come with us to the royal city?" "What do you think?" Hawk said. "The king? My sister should be in that factory. Why don't you take me to see her first?" I said. "Okay, let's go. She's on the 2nd floor," Hawk said. With that, we began to head inside the factory. Entering the factory, it was pitch black, but quite large. I followed Hawk and John as they advanced. My sister was indeed on the second floor. It wasn't a lie, I could tell. Following them, we walked for a distance, gradually ascending the steel stairs to the second floor of the factory. We then headed toward the corridor inside. After a while, we arrived at a relatively empty, dark area. Not far away, several men stood around an instrument, working on something. The rectangular device contained something resembling a sleeping pod, and inside lay my sister, Li Lanyu. What are those people doing? We stopped one after another after walking for a distance, and I asked at this time, about this. Your sister is really powerful. She almost ran away after making trouble before. If it weren't for the help of the people in the nights, she probably wouldn't be here now, Hawk said. In other words, those people exist to limit or seal your sister's power. Of course, they also have the power to kill her, John said. Don't say that, John. Now we are taking you to meet your sister. How about she? She is just sleeping. There are related instruments next to her that can measure her vital signs, Hawk said again. I see. Are you going to threaten me with those? I said. Don't be so harsh. That's why I said this. This is a negotiation. As long as you are willing to go to the royal city, you can bring your lovely sister to the royal city with a long history, and you can also meet the king. How great, Hawk said. Did you poison her? That's despicable, I said. At this moment, I could see through his thoughts and read what he was thinking. How, did you know? Hawk couldn't help but ask. Admit it, I'm not going there with you, and I'm taking my sister back with me, I added. The plan had been exposed, part of a multi-pronged plan to threaten Li Xingze. Hawk understood that the person before him must possess extraordinary powers. Coming to his senses, he said, in that case, you'd better be careful about your sister's life. That virus is a special one. With the hospital's technology, I'm afraid your sister will be gone by the time they find a treatment. As he spoke, one of the people surrounding my sister, Lan Yu, gathered a burst of energy in his hand, powerful enough to severely injure a person. It seemed as if he was using it to threaten me. In an instant, Li Xingze vanished from Hawk's sight. A gentle breeze blew past the equipment nearby, where several people were gathered. I picked up Lan Yu and moved to the other side of the group. You won't succeed, I said. Li Xingze, I've told you this, if you don't listen, the virus in your sister's body will flare up, and she'll be dead, even without our intervention. Hawk extended his hand. You did poison her, but it seems you don't know my sister well enough. She's immune to all poisons, just like me, or perhaps even a more advanced cultivator. What? John couldn't help but wonder. A physique immune to all poisons must be acquired through special cultivation techniques, a certain level of skill, or perhaps innate ability, or perhaps the possession of some special item. Is that just a bluff? John whispered to Hawk, who stood beside him, but Hawk just stared at me silently. You're even using my two sisters as a threat to get me out of here. Such a dirty trick. If you had a better plan, I wouldn't have considered going to the royal city, really? Now that things have come to this, I don't expect you to change your mind. If you think the virus is ineffective, then so be it. But, Li Xingze, since it's come to this, both sides must be prepared. Do you understand? Hawk's attitude changed, and he spoke with a cold expression. As he spoke, several of Hawk's men surrounded me. Not just on this floor, but also below and outside, reinforcements were approaching. I'm afraid the troops from the other meeting point are also beginning to move in. I held Lan Yu in one hand, a black longsword in the other, and stared at the man before me. Understood. Whatever you decide to do, if you try to hinder me today, don't blame me for being merciless. The men before me were no ordinary people. They all possessed special abilities, but I could now more or less see their extent. Since obtaining the key, my abilities have increased by at least tenfold. That's the extent of physical power. Immediately, those people advanced on me. Without further ado, I slashed away. Like a wave, a massive impact swept through. Half of those surrounding me were sent flying by the force of my slash, while others used their abilities to block or evade it. From various angles, they came at me from the sky and the ground. Hawk and John took this opportunity to escape. Holding Lan Yu in one hand was clearly unsuitable for combat, so I swung my sword, summoning my primordial spirit. In an instant, with fleeting speed, I blasted several people from various angles, both on the ground and in the air, sending them flying. They vanished instantly. I observed Lan Yu's condition, placing my hand gently on her head and stroking it. It looked just as I'd imagined. Her physique was exceptional. The virus had likely been largely eliminated. She was simply dormant due to the other party's spell. Therefore, my next move was to take her away. Even though I thought so, many opposing mechas were already outside, trying to block my path. Why were they blocking my way? Why were they obstructing me at every turn? Now I understand. It's not just because I've obtained the key or am unwilling to go to the royal city. The reason behind it. I can vaguely tell from their eyes that they're stalling for time. They've sent me away for something important. Lin Feng and Crane had anticipated this beforehand, and I'd asked her to make the best choice in my absence. And now, the choice I have to make is now 1:35 p.m. I'm about 30 minutes ahead of my appointment, and I've circumvented their trap and found my sister. This has certainly saved me some time. Something else needs to happen today. I can't waste time here now, I must leave. Then, with Lan Yu in tow, I used my divine power and a thought to escape the factory and reach the outside world. Outside the factory, next to the blue Mecha, Azure Heart, several mechas hovered in the sky above the open space. John and Hawk could be seen in the distance. Xingze, I anticipated your choice. Of course, I've prepared a generous gift. Look, those mechas are all elite level and above, with several top-tier units included, Hawk said. So, you've prepared a lot to buy time. A truly wonderful welcome gift, I said. As they chatted, Hawk and John each entered a Mecha. They didn't appear to be ready to fight, they were merely spectators. If I were to engage them, attacking them would be a good option. However, if their goal was to buy time, even if I captured them, what would it matter? Could I use them to threaten those Mecha troops? That was obviously unlikely, and something I didn't want to do. So, let them be an interesting third spectator. I didn't need to pay any attention to them. Suddenly, I took Lan Yu inside the Azure Heart. At that moment, no fewer than 10 mechas were already aimed in the sky. There were silver, white, gold, red, orange, and other mechas in the sky. The precision of their construction was extraordinary. As Hawk had said, they all possessed at least elite-level capabilities. The corresponding pilots are naturally of a high standard. Facing so many machines is indeed psychologically stressful. What choice do I have to make now? What choice can I make? I think I'm clear, avoid them. Can I do it? Everything is being done in this dragnet, and I'm also trying to accomplish something. The time has come for me to fight. But are they the ones I'm fighting? Eliminating those in the way is a straightforward approach, but those guys are just stalling for time. So, I can't do that. From above, several machines cast their nets, attempting to envelop my machine. Several nearby machines simultaneously aimed lasers at me, intending to destroy it. Meanwhile, I leap up from my machine, but the nets above me were all over the place. They seemed to be of unusual construction, formed by a powerful energy. Immediately, I used my divine feat to coordinate my machine, instantly moving past the net's perimeter and sprinting in the other direction. I didn't want to deal with those machines anymore. There were other things I had to do. I can't keep wasting time here. I must leave as soon as possible and contact the other side. By connecting the series of events, I can understand that something is about to happen. Chapter 270 Transformation. The blue machine sped off to the southeast, heading in the opposite direction. Behind it, many other machines were pursuing mine. The top-tier sky-shaped machines were particularly fast, constantly firing bullets and beams from behind, forcing me to constantly dodge and defend. As this progressed, my machine was gaining distance from the enemy, and the two fastest machines among the nearly 10 were now falling behind. This solved the problem. Thanks to the Azure Heart and our mutual synchronicity, the blue machine was now reaching speeds far greater than before, and even the top two machines couldn't catch up. The next step was simple. I contacted Commander Lin Feng and Crane and reported the current situation. Miss Lin Feng, my sister has been brought back. Where should I go next? I said. Hearing this, Lin Feng said, congratulations. Now is the crucial time. Xingze, the operation has already begun. Head to Area 32. There's a suspicious man there. He might be, really? I see. With that, my machine continued along its trajectory. The time was now 1:45 p.m. At optimal speed, Area 32 would arrive in about 20 minutes. At this moment, the machines behind me were being outpaced one after another. With the speed of the blue machine, even the ambushers who had been ambushed had no chance to attack. They were just a flash of blue light. No way. We can't even buy time, John said, watching the receding blue light. Beside him, the purple-haired man, Hawk, stared coldly at the retreating figure, his fists clenched in frustration. Mr. Hawk, none of the machines here seem to match the speed of that blue machine, John continued. That's right. Our mission is to slow down that student, Xingze. Even though he's been reduced to such a task, he still escaped. He's truly incredible. Now, that young man's obstacle to him is different from what we see. The only thing that can stop him now is probably, Hawk said. What is that? John asked, puzzled. Hawk remained silent at this point. My machine continued to move at high speed, from Area 48, the northern border, to Area 32, the southern border, the longest distance between the two. Now that I think about it, they've done a really good job. On a different note, has anyone considered this possibility? If so, it would have been Miss Lin Feng. By this time, the high-speed flight had been going on for nearly 10 minutes. The Azure Heart had flown from Area 48, traversing numerous other areas, passing through Areas 40 and 36, then reaching Area 5, just to the east, and then Area 3, cutting across the central edge of the new century capital. 12 minutes passed, and at the border of the third area, I suddenly sensed something approaching at breakneck speed. The astonishing speed forced me to stop, for it was so close, there was no escape. The speed probably exceeded 1,000,000 kilometers per hour, pushing the limits of physics. Even from a distant location, it could reach me in 10 seconds. Whether it was a natural mecha was unknown. But within seconds, a mecha approached me and then stopped in midair. It was a platinum-colored mecha with a crown on its head, almost the same size as my Azure Heart. I had sensed the person currently within that platinum-colored mecha before, not long ago. It was when I received the key, and its presence permeated the surrounding world. Then, I sensed a presence similar to myself. Now, it was before my eyes. I heard you were Xingze. And I've been wanting to meet you for a while now, the other person said. Hearing this, I replied, excuse me, who are you, me? If you want a name, simply put, I'm an ace pilot in the royal city, responsible for protecting the king, the other person said. Ace? Is that you? The ace class, the pinnacle, is unsurpassed. There is only one ace, the strongest mecha pilot in the world. Well, please give me your guidance. A junior like me, not long ago, in the hospital next to Xingze Academy, in Xingze's ward, Shuho cared for her. In the afternoon, Xingze gradually recovered with the help of her kind classmate Shuho. As her health improved, she recalled what happened that afternoon after school. Therefore, it was no longer possible to lie in the hospital bed. Although the bandages were still on her body, Xingze got up. Jiuhua, what's wrong? Where are you going? Asked Shuho, who was watching over there. There are some important things that I must tell Xingze. Jiuhua immediately sat down beside the bed. What is that? I'm here to call my brother. Jiuhua, sit down first, Shuho said. She started to dial Xingze's number. While she was dialing, the phone rang, but no one answered. After several attempts, Shuho said, the call can't be connected. Really? Xingze must be on a mission now and has no time. Now is an important moment, Jiuhua said. Then, I'm going to get up. Help me get my replacement school uniform, Jiuhua said. Hearing this, Shuho came to the other side of the ward and took the clothes from the hanger. Later, she approached Jiuhua and said, Jiuhua, are you feeling alright? I can tell you anything, it's okay, Shuho. Thanks to you, I'm free to move around now. Xingze would be worried if I let you go, Jiuhua said, beginning to change. After quickly changing out of her pajamas and into her academy uniform, she untied the bandages on her hands and headed for the door. Shuho followed. When they reached the door, Jiuhua saw two women seated near the door, Zhou Qing, with her green hair, and Chen Xiangguang, with her brown hair. Jiuhua said to Zhou Qing, Friends of the Green Alliance, this is urgent. Could you please contact your headquarters commander? I need to ask you something. Zhou Qing looked at the girl with long black hair. Half of her head was still covered in a white bandage, and she had already dressed for the day. Well, you're Shuho's friend. Are you alright? Zhou Qing said. Thank you for your concern. Thanks to Shuho's care, I'm fine now. Time is urgent. Can we contact headquarters right away? Jiuhua said. Zhou Qing hesitated after hearing this. For her, The secret base was something she couldn't casually share with others. Miss Jo Qing, I'm asking you for help too. This is an important matter concerning my brother, Shuho said, bowing her head slightly. Seeing this, Jo Qing couldn't help but think about it. It was about Li Xingze. Her sister and her friends had heard recently that Li Xingze had outside helpers, and the black-haired girl in front of them should be one of them. As she said, this was a very important moment. Jo Qing and Shen Xiangguang exchanged a glance, and then Jo Qing said, I understand. Come with us to where the machine is parked. It's not convenient to talk here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, External Realm. At the border of Area 32, which separates it from the New Century capital, lies a jungle. At 1:50 p.m., the black sedan from Area 1 had already entered the edge of this jungle. Meanwhile, the blue-haired man had left the black sedan and ventured into the jungle. Those chasing the black sedan temporarily lost sight of him. The sedan took an unexpected route, and at one point, the surveillance cameras and communications systems suddenly ceased functioning, apparently due to electromagnetic interference, a power outage, or some other unusual factor. This was likely the work of someone from Area 1, but it was confirmed that the target had entered the border of Area 32. Therefore, the only way to locate him was to focus on that area's border and recruit additional personnel to search. This was the current strategy Qin Liang and his companions could devise. The fact that they were willing to use such extensive communications and surveillance systems to disable them within a short period of time suggests that this man possesses considerable importance. Rather than continuing to guard the Xianyun Tower, perhaps more personnel could be dispatched, with only 1 or 2 remaining at the tower to monitor the situation. This was a proposal shared by Hua Qian, Qin Liang, and the others in the jungle at the border of Area 32. The man with blue hair advanced. He passed a section of the forest path, where he arrived at a large, iconic tree at the border of Area 32. This tree was known as the most abundant energy source in the area. It was a beautiful spot, but the man was only passing through it this time. Besides its refreshing atmosphere, it also served as a hidden path connecting to the outside world. The man continued on his way, reaching the New Century Divide. On the other side, he could see a tall iron tower, a surveillance tower. That area marked the border, a place guarded by humans. There was indeed a secret communication channel with the outside world, but it now appeared to be blocked. This was likely due to recent events in the area, leading to adjustments made by the higher-ups. The only option left was to go straight through and greet the guards. The blue-haired man then followed the path to the border platform. There, towering walls, approximately 15 meters high, dominated the area monitored by the border guards. He ascended the stairs to the platform. In front of him was a hallway with a house, presumably the residence of the nearby guards. The surveillance camera over there spotted the figure of the blue-haired man coming. At this time, a man in police uniform came to the front of the blue-haired man and said, "Well, you should not be an irrelevant person here. What are you doing here?" "You are right, I am not a relevant person here, but I have something urgent to do." "Can you let me through?" said the blue-haired man. "That's not possible. The rule here is that strangers are not allowed to pass through casually. If you want to leave here, you'd better go through the main gate. Recently, suspicious people like you often pass by here secretly, and they are very alert." "Really? If that doesn't work, I can only show you my ID that I am a special person." The blue-haired man said this. Then he reached into the pocket of his white coat, pretending to take something out, and then took out a blue thing from his pocket. It was a blue object in the shape of a card, emitting light. "I don't know what it is." Looking at the shiny thing that the man took out of his pocket, the guard thought, is he going to use some gold and silver treasures as a bribe? With this thought, the blue-haired man held a blue luminous card out to the guard. The guard took it, surveyed the surroundings, and then looked back at the object. Suddenly, the blue card erupted with dazzling light, accompanied by the formation of steam and an explosion of energy. This created a powerful impact that knocked the guard, who was looking at the card, to the ground. Seeing this, the blue-haired man walked past a fallen guard and headed directly for the passage leading to the outside world. The range shown on the guard's monitor represented the next possible route. From this range, he would leave the new Century City's boundary. A moment later, he passed the boundary, leaped down, and headed towards the plains outside. Soon after, news of a guard being taken down spread from the surveillance tower at the new Century City's border. This news quickly reached to Aquilon and the others, who had the support of the Holy Water Spirit Academy's top brass. The message stated that a man had been struck unconscious by an unknown attack in a guardhouse near the border of Area 32. Considering that the blue-haired man had indeed passed through the area, surveillance cameras in the area were immediately activated for investigation. Results soon emerged. The figure of the mysterious man in a white coat appeared on the cameras. He departed towards the outer world. This intelligence was received 20 minutes later. The target passed through Area 32 and is moving outside the new century, approximately southwest, Aquilon announced via the communicator. Understood. Next, head towards the outskirts of the new Century City, Qin Liang said. Roger that, Lin Qin replied. Following these words, the group headed towards the outer boundaries of the new Century City. Due to their special access, they quickly obtained permission through communication with the higher-ups at the Holy Water Spirit Academy to cross the new Century City boundary from Area 32. Meanwhile, a man in a loose white coat and long blue hair began heading further out into the outer world, his target somewhere far away. On his way, he came upon a village near the Outer Realm jungle. This place seemed to be inhabited by some other races, but the culture was relatively backward compared to the nearby New Century capital. They still clung to an ancient culture, with simple buildings and a river. They didn't need electricity, relying primarily on primitive methods like fires for survival. Indeed, not far from this village lay a cave, which was where the blue-haired man wanted to go. So, he passed by the village. The man ignored the people, who were generally dressed in coarse cloth and had dark skin, simply walking along the street, unperturbed. The locals weren't particularly interested in the man in white clothes and long blue hair. Since this was the border of the new century capital, they'd seen him often, so they weren't surprised. They assumed the man's attire was simply a ritual of another country or religion. The blue-haired man continued walking. A short while later, an elderly woman wearing a witch's hat and black clothes waved to the side, urging the man to come over. She looked like a fortune teller. As the road ahead led to a meeting with a fortune teller, he decided to stop by and take a look. The blue-haired man then slowly approached the fortune teller, who said, "Sir, would you like me to tell you your future fate?" "Okay, tell me what will happen to me next," the blue-haired man said. "Hold out your hand. I want to read your palm." The fortune teller held out a slightly aged-looking hand, motioning for him to hold it here. The blue-haired man then extended his right hand to the elderly woman. She gently grasped the hand and examined it. "How is it going?" the blue-haired man said. "I figured it out, sir. To be honest, your hand," as the old woman spoke, a sharp slash slashed through, severing the entire palm of the blue-haired man's right hand. The old woman grasped her hand, showing it to the blue-haired man, and said, "Your lifeline is almost gone. You won't survive tomorrow." At that moment, the blue-haired man could not help but stare silently at the old woman before him. She had used some strange trick just now, when she touched his hand, to sever it, perhaps some kind of witchcraft. "Because, you will be finished here," the old woman said with a horrified look. "Is that so?" As the old woman finished her words, the blue-haired man's right hand, which she was holding, gradually melted and dripped down like water. Suddenly, the hand, like a celestial being scattering flowers, blasted out numerous water blades, instantly piercing the old woman's upper body like 1,000 arrows piercing her heart. Without a moment to resist, she collapsed backward, her head and upper body riddled with bloody holes. The blue-haired man simply turned away, leaving behind a single sentence. "You're the one who won't live to see tomorrow." With these words, the blue-haired man's severed right hand, shimmering with azure water, gradually transformed into a whole right hand. He immediately continued forward on the road. However, at this moment, many men fixed their eyes on the blue-haired man. The dead old woman must have planned something, to kill me. The old woman was actually a Mecha. She had foreseen the calamity that would come today. Someone was trying to disrupt the balance of nature, defying heaven, and the dire consequences that would follow. She acted to stop him. Suddenly, many men from the village surrounded the blue-haired man. "I see. I'm being targeted." The blue-haired man just wanted to keep a low profile, but there are always times when he has no other choice, so it's time to take action in advance. Chapter 272 Flowing Seawater. For a moment, the blue-haired man's gaze shone with a mercury-like glint, and a faint ripple of movement enveloped his figure. The sturdy young men from the village surrounding him, some wielding machetes, short swords, and even iron rods, weapons that didn't look like those intended for friendly exchange. The source of this disaster, we cannot allow you to advance a single step, declared a dark-faced, middle-aged man with a turban and a small mustache. Wake up, the villagers responded in unison. Several in the lead immediately charged at a blue-haired man, attacking him with clubs and clubs. The blue-haired man stared blankly at the scene before him. Just as they were about to close in, a wave of water suddenly erupted from his body, radiating outward in both directions from his body. The massive wave swept over many of the surrounding villagers in one fell swoop. Like a wave in the ocean, its immense force prevented anyone from reaching its impact, and they were all dispersed by the waves. The weight of the water was astonishing. The blue-haired man, like the source of the ocean, continuously released seawater. In a short time, it submerged the buildings surrounding the village, causing them to collapse. The blue-haired man rode the waves, moving towards his desired destination. His destination lay not far ahead. At this point, anyone who tried to stop him would be crushed. An unusual phenomenon, a village on flat ground, far from the water and lush with trees, was swept away by the flood. In a short moment, the blue-haired man, controlling the current, passed by the village. By then, it was in shambles, with many people lying on the wet ground due to drowning. Impossible, someone sighed, unable to comprehend the situation before them. They simply stared at the receding man. Meanwhile, Qin Liang and the others had also noticed this sudden and bizarre phenomenon. What was happening in the distant village? The immense energy and the power of water had also caught Lin Qin's attention. Southeast, there's a reaction from that blue-haired man. He might be activating his ability, Lin Qin said. I see. Let's go, as quickly as possible. Something bad might be happening, Hua Qian said. At this moment, the woman, riding a gray-blue primordial spirit, advanced through the air. It was a sky-shaped form. Qin Liang, Lin Qin, and the other three quickly flew towards the village. Meanwhile, not only those three, but also the Green Alliance's secret organization, led by Lin Feng Crane, had confirmed what was happening outside the village. In fact, Lin Feng had already anticipated that Purin might make moves on the border of Area 32 and had already deployed surveillance and ambush troops there. There was also a surveillance team from Area 1. Together, there were 5 mobile suits and 12 personnel. The Green Alliance's specialty was covert operations, so those closest to the blue-haired man were those from the Green Alliance. With their stealth abilities, they skillfully tracked him. The entire situation unfolded before Lin Feng Crane's eyes at the Green Alliance's secret base. Judging by the situation, he could no longer allow the blue-haired man to advance. The waves he rode had already submerged the village and continued to sweep forward. Such incredible power, like that of a sea god. But here, on land, the most incredible part was unbelievable. This situation looks dire. Members of the Green Alliance, stop that man's advance, Lin Feng commanded. Immediately, the Green Alliance members' mobile suits, which had been tracking the blue-haired man, emerged from stealth mode one after another, appearing in the sky above him. Understood. Several green, white and turquoise mobile suits appeared one after another, closing in on the man below. Lin Feng could confirm the current situation on the large screen in the main control room. According to the map, the blue-haired man's next route led to a green mountain, and before that, a cave. This cave might be one of the suspicious locations. After assessing the situation, Lin Feng said, "Everyone, use long-range attacks to block that person's path. The area ahead may be his destination." Roger that. With that, several Green Alliance mechas took up positions above the blue-haired man, launching nets and bullets at his surroundings. As the nets and bullets descended, the blue-haired man realized something. He hadn't moved, simply riding the waves, moving at a remarkable speed. The Green Alliance mechas could barely keep up. The nets and bullets attacked one after another. As the capture nets approached, a current surged upward in front of the blue-haired man, blowing the net away. The bullets were also blocked by the protective wall of water, causing only a splash. Use missiles, one member said. Then, a mecha swooped down diagonally, approaching the man's side, unleashing 2 missiles from its shoulder mechanisms, closing in on him from different paths. As the missiles approached, the blue-haired man erected a massive wall of waves to his side, acting as a shield and deflecting the incoming missiles before his water barrier. Water splashed everywhere, creating only a few more splashes, without penetrating the barrier. Furthermore, as the Mecha approached the blue-haired man's position, the water beneath his feet transformed into a giant hand, dragging the Mecha down. See funeral. In that instant, the Mecha was engulfed by the vast sea water, enveloping it like a whirlpool, and then compressed. Instantly, the pressure of the water crushed it to pieces, its performance instantly unbalanced, with damage exceeding 60%. The pilot, acting instantly, escaped. The Mecha exploded. What kind of power is this? It's the power of the ocean itself, no way to stop it. Who could withstand the oncoming surge of water? It was the power of the four elements, the one that nurtured all things. Just as the Green Alliance members were horrified, two more mechas and a small figure appeared from the other side. A dark blue mecha, a white and blue mecha, and a woman standing on a flying board. Those were Qin Liang and Lin Qin's natural mechas. On the other side, Hua Qian and her Yuan Ling, at first glance, looked like diamond-shaped flying objects, but that was the Yuan Ling's ability to transform. We're here. It looks like there are other helpers ahead besides us, Qin Liang said. The three of them arrived one after another at the land covered by the flood, and in the sky above. Sure enough, it's the power of the sea, Lin Qin said. Chapter 273 Xingze. A blanket of azure waves blanketed a patch of land in the suburbs, like the sea swallowing the earth, surging forward, submerging the land. Several mechas followed the man treading on the waves, attempting to prevent further influx. Several mechas now circled the blue-haired man as he sped along, harassing him with long-range attacks, but their power seemed insufficient. They couldn't penetrate the thick water barrier. That man's heading for the nearby cave, it seems. At this rate, if he reaches that area, the entire area, including the cave, will be submerged by the flood beneath him, Hua Qian said, assessing the situation. Yes, this will cause trouble for many people, including the inhabitants of the surface. We have to stop him, Qin Liang said. Be careful. That man possesses unfathomable power, like the ocean, Lin Qin said. Even so, we must try, Qin Liang said this. At this moment, the Mecha groups launched multiple mid-range and long-range attacks to harass the blue-haired man standing above the floodwaters, but their attacks were successively neutralized, and the blue-haired man remained motionless. Meanwhile, the white-blue Mecha Qin Liang piloted, wings gleaming, accelerated and charged forward, transforming into a white impact, closing in on the blue-haired man. He wielded a silver sword and charged forward. For a moment, as if sensing his movements, the floodwaters erected a water barrier, blocking the white impact. Undeterred, Qin Liang charged forward, forcing himself into the water barrier with immense momentum and energy. He charged into the water wall in one breath, piercing it in an instant. He arrived in front of the blue-haired man and slashed with his silver blade. Seeing this, the blue-haired man held up a hand, and blue waves rippled before his hand. A deep blue figure, wearing a multi-sided crown, a torso covered with muscular muscle, and draped in a black cloak, appeared before the white-blue machine. The spirit, holding a trident, blocked the white-blue machine's attack with a trident. As the white-blue machine passed by, the spirit's eyes shone red, a fearless look on his face, and the blue waves around him loomed. It was the demigod of the deep sea, Burrow. Those who would hinder me, are you prepared? The blue-haired man said. Even if not, if you stand in my way, you should be prepared. Suddenly, the demigod of the deep sea swung his trident, and the water beneath him surged upward like a towering pillar, forming massive, soaring columns of water. 6 in total, they surrounded the man. Instantly, a web of water spread across the sky, seizing several mechas above in various forms and dragging them downward. What is this? Such a powerful force, exclaimed the pilot of the Mecha. The mechas were completely unable to escape the watery substance. Seawater nurtures all things, but it can also destroy them. With these words, the mechas were dragged into the floodwaters one after another, destroyed by the pressure, the temperature difference, and other means. The pilots were forced to escape. Only a few mechas and people managed to escape the attack. Qin Liang and Lin Qin's mechas were fine. They possessed original spirits, and their skills and agility were extraordinary. This is terrible. That man's power is unusual. His primordial spirit, that's probably no ordinary primordial spirit. It possesses a different element, said Hua Qian, chasing him overhead. That's the primordial spirit of the sea. Yes, it's at the level of a master, a demigod of the sea, Lin Qin said. Her primordial spirit had a subtle connection with the other man, allowing her to understand his origins, the king of the sea, and because of that man, she had been endowed with even greater power. Meanwhile, surrounding the flood, several members of the Green Alliance, using their uniquely taught techniques, harnessed their natural power to transform into green vines, or, leveraging the surrounding trees, transformed into weapons or extensions, restraining the man in various ways. Water can't defeat the vast forest after all. Rest, one member said. Nearly 10 members of the Green Alliance, using the surrounding trees as a connecting point, stood atop them. Using their natural power, they extended themselves, creating a binding force against the flood waters, preventing them from advancing. For a moment, the green energy blocked the flood's advance, briefly halting its advance. The blue-haired man gazed at the dense, spreading undergrowth before him, and the resistance that held back the water's flow. As a result, the water was gradually being absorbed by the trees and ground, weakening. Seeing this, he said, "Is that so? If you want to stop me, then let me tell you, the world is unpredictable. In the 5 elements, wood overcomes water, water is absorbed, eventually evaporating as nutrients. This is the process, but..." Suddenly, the water around the blue-haired man, which had already been gradually diminishing, ceased to diminish. The blue-haired man exerted his strength again, sending a surge of even greater water rushing in. This time, the Green Alliance members couldn't withstand it and were swept away one after another, along with the trees. How could this be? No, hold on. We shouldn't lose to him, one member said. Then, refusing to give up, a few still relied on natural forces to hold on, while others transformed themselves into green vines and swung them towards the blue-haired man, only to be stopped by the current. "You're asking for your own death." The water temperature suddenly changed, and the male member in front was instantly burned by the hundreds of degrees of heat. He was then swept away by the flood, his entire body now red. Under the blue-haired man's attack, the Green Alliance members were defeated one after another and scattered by the current. As the water flowed away, the bodies of some members fell to the ground. "Then how do we deal with him?" Qin Liang asked in midair. At this moment, the white and blue machine he was piloting was constantly dodging the attacks of the invisible water. "That huge water flow, we can't even approach it. We really don't have enough combat power. Now we have to follow that man. We haven't figured out his motives yet," Hua Qian said. "Those people down there," Qin Liang said. "We can only wait for backup. They should have contacted them," Hua Qian said. "Then I'll help," Lin Qin said. At this moment, the dark blue machine she was piloting was moving closer to the water below. "Wait, it's dangerous to go down," Qin Liang warned. "It's okay, I'm an ocean form, and the seawater is my advantage," Lin Qin said. Meanwhile, the deep blue mecha had already plunged into the water. Nearby, several drowned figures lay nearby. Lin Qin's goal was to rescue them. Although they were strangers, they were also those trying to stop this unusual phenomenon. Besides, saving people didn't need a reason, one should do what they could. As the deep blue mecha plunged into the water, it felt the powerful currents and nearly drifted away. However, Lin Qin, possessing the same oceanic power, had her spirit connected to the ocean, the daughter of the sea. A deep blue female spirit with long, flowing hair suddenly materialized in the water, half of her body, the lower half shaped like a fish's tail. Within this water, she possessed the power to control the currents. Immediately, she pushed the currents, moving freely through the water, rescuing 2 people and, using her power to control the currents, pushing another person out of the flooded area. Immediately, the rescued individuals were taken to a location outside the flood zone and placed below. The blue-haired man noticed this scene. There was someone with similar abilities within the water. While similar, their class was significantly lower. He wasn't to be feared, it would be a waste of time to bother with her. Meanwhile, Qin Liang's machine slowly approached from above. The blue-haired man said, "What's your purpose, you down there? Why are you using such immense force to overwhelm this territory? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish?" "Of course, to accomplish what I want to accomplish," the blue-haired man replied. Qin Liang wasn't in an attacking stance at this point. He was powerless to stop the flood's advance, so he came to inquire. The blue-haired man had no intention of swinging his racket at a fast-moving individual. "I've heard you have a hidden plan in Area 1. Whatever you're planning, Causing such widespread harm is excessive. To fulfill my wish, once I've begun, there's no stopping. If you stand in my way, don't blame my ruthless men, the blue-haired man said. A matter you can't even speak of, endangering so many lives, is that your wish? Qin Liang added. A matter you can't even speak of, endangering so many lives? I believe that people meet for a reason, and so do all other living things. Do you think I'm just killing them? That's a shame. It's not like that. It's because you're going to appear before my eyes. So I say, be prepared. Think of it this way, anyone who stands in my way today is seeking death. He meant fate, a cruel destiny. No matter what, Qin Liang and the others would stop him. To do so, he would eliminate those who stood in his way. There was no other choice but to fight. The two sides were at odds. No matter how much Qin Liang thought he was being forced to prevent disaster and reduce the bloodshed, he had to fight. There was no other way. Qin Liang, don't tell him, that man is not someone you can persuade now, Hua Qian said. What should I do? Qin Liang said to Hua Qian puzzledly. Wait, our chance will definitely come. That huge power, that man is not a god, there will be a time when it will run out, and it will be soon, Hua Qian said. Yes, this is a power that cannot be sustained for long. It is a power that violates the laws of nature, and the end will not be far away, Lin Qin said. Acting against the will of heaven has indeed been hindered by many people. Even so, this man who wants to move forward, what exactly he is going to do, is still a mystery. Chapter 274 Outside the cave. The blue-haired man rode the waves, nearing the cave ahead. Water surged beneath his feet, like a flood at the Dragon King temple, pouring into the cave beneath the rock. He rode the waves to the cave's rock face. To Qin Liang and the others, his feet left the water for the first time. They watched the water pour into the cave. Then, atop the cave, they saw the man slowly sitting down. Qin Liang and the others, distant in the air, couldn't see what he was doing. With his back to the three of them, he slowly chanted a mantra. As he chanted, the 5 colored knots bound around his fingers slowly untied and fell to the ground. A faint red light gradually shone around him. Then, he clasped his hands together, chanting the mantra to the final moment. He leaned down slightly, pressing his hands toward the ground. With his palms slapped, a burst of energy shone, pulsing with the water flowing into the cave. What happened? What is that man doing? Qin Liang asked. I don't know. What kind of ritual? Something terrible. No matter what, we can't understand. We can't act rashly, Hua Qian said. Meanwhile, Qin Liang and the other 3 hovered in mid-air above the cave. The water pouring into the cave emanated a faint radiance of energy as it sank deeper into the cavern. It seemed as if the energy within the water resonated with the depths of the cavern. Suddenly, a dazzling light shone, illuminating the outer reaches and blazing even brighter within. Soon, the influx of water gradually subsided, its flow gradually fading. The water that had flowed into the depths of the cavern disappeared, leaving no trace. Yet, at that moment, the veins beneath the earth seemed to be energized, brimming with life. Unbeknownst to the 3, the cave was actually connected to a mysterious natural relic discovered 10 years earlier, symbolized by water. Earth, water, wind, and fire, the 4 elements, symbolize the natural monuments. Sky corresponds to wind, light to fire, and water to the ocean. Gold represents the earth, and the earth represents the earth. Although the natural monuments appear in different locations, it is water that ultimately connects them. According to the scriptures, the power of sentient beings' karma amplifies subtle winds within space, forming the wind wheel, which then develops into the water wheel, then the gold wheel, and gradually forms mountains, rivers, the earth, and the material world. At this time, all sentient beings gradually descend, marking the birth of all things. Ultimately, all sentient beings will fall into the Avasi hell. However, this world possesses the power of the gods, the ki, the divine strength, and the energy of the earth. Humans can achieve liberation, and all life can be freed from suffering. This is a world where dragons, gods, celestial beings, immortals, demons, Buddhas, and bodhisattvas still exist. Now, the blue-haired man sees an opportunity. To change the world, he must first unify it, then alter its rules and create the causes of liberation. Therefore, if this experiment succeeds, the power of the gods, the power of the earth, and nature, I will become the king of the wheel of heaven, ruling over all lands. I will allow countless sentient beings, bewildered by evil, greed, hatred, and ignorance, to sow the seeds of new liberation and achieve redemption before this material world undergoes the great calamity of birth, existence, destruction, and emptiness. About 20 years ago, such a cause occurred. One night, in a forest, a luminous object, like a meteorite, fell from the sky and landed in a depression in the earth. The meteorite landed near the border of the new century capital, a land not yet as developed as it is today, but still a prosperous land. At that time, human technology was advancing rapidly. On the day of the meteorite's fall, it was witnessed by a man, a researcher at a humble natural research institute. Upon arriving at the meteorite's landing site, the man discovered a huge red crystal and a pitch-black monster within. The man, who saw it, thought he had witnessed aliens landing and panicked for a moment, but soon calmed down. Aliens? It was a living being, a formless being. More concerned than surprised, he was about the black monster and the massive crystal beside it. He wondered what had brought it here. The man was a researcher, well versed in numerology and religious theories, and he was fascinated by the puzzling. He leaned over to observe the black monster's form. Then the monster opened its eyes, slowly catching sight of the human before it. He spoke, "Human, do you know the power of this crystal? What is it? Who are you? Can you speak to me? Who I am is unimportant. Soon, the age of the primordial spirits will arrive. It was a fate wrought thousands of years ago. To forge ahead into a new era, we need the power of this crystal." "Why do you say that? What exactly is it?" "Primordial spirit crystal, a natural mineral left behind by the primordial spirits. It's a rare treasure, the essence of nature. This crystal can shape the future. You see, I'm almost gone. Behind me is a piece of raw stone. Perhaps it's something you have a connection with. Use it to forge ahead into the future." As he spoke, the black figure gradually faded into shadow. "In the future, what will you be?" "Original stone." The other person vanished mid-sentence. And then, behind it, a deep blue stone radiated a brilliant light. After that, the man was granted the primordial spirit of the deep sea, the very first primordial spirit outside the cave. The floodwaters gradually receded. The man standing on the rocks above the cave gasped for air. The ground beside the rocks had become slippery from the recent flooding. The blue-haired man simply stepped back and stepped on a landslide, breaking a piece of ground and falling from above. Halfway through, the blue-haired man recovered and landed safely, 1 foot in front of the other, knees bent, one hand nearly touching the ground to cushion the impact of the descent. Above, Xingze and the other 3 also noticed the scene before them. "His strength is almost exhausted, isn't it? After unleashing such a powerful ability, he's tired and not curious," Huaqian said. "Then, it's time for us to take action," Xingze said. "Exactly." With that, Huaqian approached the ground beside the cave, causing the primordial spirit to vanish and landing beside the blue-haired man. Xingze's mecha immediately stopped in front of the man, and Lin Qin soon arrived. 2 natural-shaped mechas and a woman. The blue-haired man was now surrounded by these 3. He was still slightly adjusting his breath. The series of actions just now had indeed consumed a great deal of physical energy. Chapter 275 Blue-haired man versus 3 people. Suddenly, the blue-haired man was surrounded. Before him stood Xingze, Huaqian, and Lin Qin. "Sir, we've been following you since the first area. May I ask your name?" Huaqian asked. "Who I am is unimportant. At this point, I'd like to know your purpose in pursuing me," the blue-haired man said. "Then I'll ask what you're going to do. Who are you from the first area? I've seen you before." "A mysterious executor," Huaqian asked again. "Mysterious executor, an interesting name, and that's fine too. I don't have time to play with you anymore. Having said that, I'm almost leaving," the blue-haired man said, taking a red crystal he'd been holding in his hand into his mouth. As the crystal shone faintly, the blue-haired man seemed to have regained much of his strength, becoming even more imposing. "That's..." Xingze couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity with the crystal the blue-haired man had bitten into his mouth. "Is it the crystal at the core of the mecha?" Lin Qin asked. At that moment, the blue-haired man smiled faintly, and a tiny stream of water suddenly emerged from his feet, flowing forward. "He's leaving," Lin Qin said. "We can't let him go. Let's capture him now. He's definitely up to something," Huaqian said. "Understood," Xingze nodded. Then, Xingze's white and blue mecha accelerated, sprinting across the road in front of the man. He said, "Don't even think about it. I won't tell you my name or my purpose. Just because you've destroyed so many resources and lives, you should be arrested. Hearing this, the blue-haired man glanced at him with disdain. The mecha before him then extended a hand, a faint blue ripple forming within it. A stream of water suddenly gushed from beneath him, thrusting forward like a sharp spear. Qin Liang reacted quickly, blocking the sharp spear of water with his silver sword. In that instant, the water spear transformed into a vine, entangling the silver sword in Qin Liang's mecha's hand. Invisible water can transform into a myriad of forms, the blue-haired man whispered. Then the water flow before him ceased, leaving only the long sword wielded by the white-blue humanoid mecha still entwined with a whip of water. The water there gradually shone with a dazzling light, transforming into countless slender water blades that pierced the mecha in various places. In the final moment of radiant light, accompanied by rising steam, it exploded. Instantly, one of the mecha's forearms was shattered, rendering it useless. Simultaneously, the mecha was pierced by multiple holes in the water blades, which in turn caused a chain reaction of explosions, leaving the mecha severely damaged. According to the internal performance safety monitoring, the overall damage was currently approximately 35%. One of the holes had nearly penetrated the mecha's core, the crystal. If that was damaged, the mecha would be doomed. 35% damage would normally be enough to render it inoperable, but Qin Liang possessed the primordial spirit, which could continue to operate on his behalf, as long as the crystal remained intact. What a formidable fellow! With such a simple move, he's reduced this elite-level mecha to this. Qin Liang couldn't help but sigh silently. Initially, Qin Liang assumed the close range was disadvantageous and prepared to spread his wings for takeoff, but suddenly, he noticed the mecha's gait became unusually heavy. A chill washed over Qin Liang's feet. Upon closer inspection, he discovered the mecha's base was frozen in ice. It was the frozen solid form of water, the frozen form of ice. Damn it! How could I be defeated so easily by you? Qin Liang exerted all his might, his eyes gleaming with a faint white light. The mecha's wings were bathed in a glow, and with a powerful flap of the wings, the mecha shattered the ice and soared into the air. Even so, one of the mecha's legs was split open, but Qin Liang endured the pain. Suddenly, Hua Qian approached a blue-haired man from the side. Her primordial spirit was sky-shaped, capable of shape-shifting, now in the form of a spear. Hua Qian possessed extraordinary agility and was in tune with the primordial spirit. The spear swept across with incredible speed, yet the blue-haired man felt a water barrier suddenly rise up to his side, colliding with the spear. The water barrier wasn't particularly thick, but within it, an invisible force could be felt. Perhaps it was the man's primordial spirit, making the water's power so potent. A single drop of water weighed as much as a bucket, a river. An unfathomable force. But to attack him, to capture him, they had to defeat him, and after that, they had to break through the water barrier and the primordial spirit of the deep sea. Immediately, multiple blades of water surged from the water wall. Seeing this, Hua Qian leaped back, dodging the multiple thrusts of the water blades. The azure water shimmered faintly, and whenever it shone, a threat could be sensed, forcing them to stay away. Qin Liang, providing support from above, launched a silver slash and a slash of energy, striking the man below. Though the sword's energy was powerful, it was still blocked by the water barrier in front. No need to show mercy. You should know this is fate. If you choose to resist, then my response is to be prepared to go to that world, the blue-haired man suddenly said. His expression was calm, like flowing water. Is that so? Hearing you say that, I can't ignore you any longer, blue-haired. I will capture you today, no matter what you do, Hua Qian said. Her expression became even calmer and more serious than usual. The spear in her hand instantly glowed faintly. She seemed to transform herself into a crossbow, gathering immense energy within the spear and then releasing it. The white spear, growing sharper and larger as it moved, charged head-on at the blue-haired man. For a moment, the spear collided with a blue water barrier, creating a surge of impact. The next moment, the spear pierced through the water barrier and pierced the blue-haired man's face. In that instant, he dodged, narrowly avoiding the spear. Apparently sensing a sense of threat, the man thrust forward, sending multiple water blades spurting towards Hua Qian. As the blades approached, she leaped into the air, her legs darting upward. The pursuing blades, still darting towards Hua Qian, continued to advance. She dodged several times, using her ability to retrieve her weapons and sever two of them. After a brief maneuver, she finally came to rest on the rocks on the other side. Immediately, a dark blue mecha glided towards the blue-haired man from the other side. The mecha user, Lin Kin, activated his ability, a faint blue light shimmering in his eyes. A stream of water suddenly surged from beneath the blue-haired man, enveloping him in a single breath, as if he were trapped in a watery cage. The next moment, the dark blue mecha stabbed the man with its long weapon. For a moment, the blue-haired man silently gazed upon the attacking massive mecha, its considerable weaponry. "You're going to use water against me? How naive, little girl." Suddenly, the blue-haired man's eyes lit up. The demigod of the deep sea activated his power, and the water in front of him instantly gathered and rushed towards the incoming weapon. It transformed into a water shield, blocking the long weapon's attack. The water immediately split into several thin streams, climbing over the blue halberd, and then binding the deep blue machine. Pay the price for your naivety, don't even think about it. Lin Kin's original spirit also possessed the ability to control the water. It was the daughter of the sea, the blue thetis. At that moment, the rising water began to emit a dazzling light, and it seemed that a steam explosion was imminent. However, Doris, on Lin Kin's side, used her water control ability to prevent further changes in the water. The daughter of the sea and the demigod of the deep sea clashed in a moment of cooling and heating. Ice and steam explosions. The two competed with each other's power. For a moment, the water stagnated. "Can you defeat me?" "Impossible." Suddenly, more water blades swirled towards the deep blue machine. Lin Kin could already sense the considerable gap between them. He was caught off guard. Then, Qin Liang's machine charged forward, the silver sword in his hand striking like a white impact. Though the machine was already battered, driven by the will to save him, he charged down, striking the blue-haired man with his silver sword. It would be a fatal blow, and Qin Liang used all his strength. "I'll take you down. Don't touch that woman." Seeing this, the blue-haired man knew the force of the attack was immense, and he couldn't afford to be careless. He exerted even more force. The faint blue ripples before him were the power of the demigod of the deep sea. At that moment, a massive torrent of water surged from his front, surging towards Qin Liang and the blue-white machine. It transformed into a massive water hand, blocking the blue-white machine's charge. Like a silver sword spearheaded by a white impact, it instantly pierced through the surface of the water, only to be stopped by the strong water hand, the entire machine contained within. "Is that so? Then let's go together." As the blue-haired man spoke, the surrounding water shimmered with a faint mercury glow, steam billowing into the air. With a dazzling burst of light, it exploded. Water splashed everywhere, and both machines were subjected to powerful impact, searing heat, almost simultaneously. Both were instantly destroyed. Qin Liang and Lin Kin, who had both detached from the machine, flew out along with the cabin, then made a hasty descent, crashing to the ground. The impact had damaged the door of Lin Kin's cabin, and Lin Kin slipped out of the escape hatch en route. Qin Liang then climbed out on his own. The situation was dire, and no time was needed. Hu Qian, in a flash, flew to the two men, whisking them away one after another, out of the blue-haired man's range, keeping them about 50 meters away. Hu Qian lifted them into the air, aboard a flying saucer transformed by his original spirit. "This is tragic. It seems we're a bit underpowered to deal with him," Hu Qian said. The blue-haired man now glided forward on the gentle current, ignoring us. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.